Alright, we're all set. Alright, this is Team Stomping Grounds Gamecast number 3 in the beta, and today we're doing an Adepticon preparation mission, mission number 3 from last year's championship matches. Today's going to be Jesse Newton against Rob Fortin, both of them on Team Stomping Grounds. And for Matt Serino, I'm Matt the Friends of Team Stomping Grounds, and we're getting started here. Today we have Seer Council versus Beast Star. And let's go ahead and get you some lists here so you can see what's going on. Alright, so for Jesse Newton, we have Eldar Main. He's taken a similar list to what I've been bringing in the past. It's the Jet Bike with Runes of Witnessing, Shard of Anaris, and then another Jet Bike, Farseer with Runes of Witnessing and a Singing Spear. That one is the Warlord. Council of only 9 with 4 Singing Spears. And then he's taking, instead of the Wraith Knights that I had been taking in the past, he's taking sets of Die Avengers and Wave Serpents. So he's got 4 of them with Twinling Scatterlasers and nothing else. And then 2 Wind Rider squads at the end. 5 Hawks, again for points, and the Baron with 5 Warriors.
Alright, and Rob Fortin is bringing our Beast Star. So he's a Farseer with Shard, Jet Bike, Runes of Warding, and that's going to be, or Runes of Witnessing, that's going to be his Warlord. Eldrad there to, give him all the fun psychic powers. Going to slow him down a little bit, though. So he has, I believe it's 6 units of Eldar Guardian Jet Bikes.
Looks like
5. Yeah, sorry. 7 Warp Spiders, 6 Swooping Hawks, 2 Wraith Knights, big guys with Wraith Cannons. And from Dark Eldar, here is the Beast Pack itself. So he's got 20 Chimera, 5 Masters, 2 Razorwing Flocks, and then 5 Warriors for the troop attacks, and the Baron. Baron's going to be crucial, I think, in this matchup a lot, seeing as both of them have it. So
that's a lovely Baron. One thing that I do want to note, for Adepticon in particular, the reason why Rob chose to go with Eldrad, which tends to be a controversial choice just because of how much he costs. In this particular match, Adepticon is allowing you to go on Fate, and once you choose to go on Runes of Fate, you can't switch off to the big rulebook powers. So Eldrad gives him 4 chances at getting Fortune rather than not. Do we get those powers yet from them as they were rolling?
No, they still have them. I do know for a fact both of them have Fortune, so I will have to steal the list from them as soon as they're done doing their final rolls.
Alright, well in the meantime, let's go ahead and take out the mission, see what we got going on. Alright, so in this mission, it's going to be Relic and Objective Markers. And it looks like we have 4 objective markers centered in each of the corners, a Vanguard deployment, and again the secondaries are as they always are: Slay the Warlord, First Blood, and Linebreaker. And we have no specialties in this one, so there's no fast attack scoring, and there's no heavy support scoring. It's just straight up objectives and the Relic. The Relic is going to be an interesting match for these two. Neither one of them has a real strong troop unit, and there are some tricks that you can pull to double up on those to get that to happen, but I don't know if either one of them are experienced enough yet with these lists to try those things out. It'll be interesting to see how they try to run that. All right, let's go ahead and introduce the players. First up, we have Jesse Newton.
Jesse Newton, Team Stomping Grounds, Philadelphia, PA.
All right, Jesse Newton is captain of Team Stomping Grounds. He got 2nd place, I believe, at 11th Company.
Yes, sir. No, 2 years ago, he got best overall.
Best overall.
Or best general, sorry.
Okay.
And then 2nd place at Nova Open 2013.
Yeah, that was a very good match there. And he's been judging everything. He's kind of become the authority on rules, and so he's just kind of the man to go to with that sort of thing. But he will be heading out to Adepticon. I don't know that he might have some second guesses on this army. I'm not sure if he's bringing it or not.
He's back and forth. I mean, I think today he's been playing the Seer Council 27 times and been playing something else 28 times. So I think as of right now he's leaning away towards it. He just doesn't want to go and not get Fortune. So
yeah. There's always some last minute changes on the list. All right, and the other player we got is Rob Fortin.
Rob Fortin, Team Stomping Grounds, Philadelphia, PA.
All right, Rob Fortin is on Team Stomping Grounds as well, and he's our local Midwesterner, Nebraska, right? I believe.
Yeah, we got a Nebraska import. So
all right, so for anybody out there in Nebraska, shout out. Here's your man, Rob Fortin.
Okay. So now the Midwest is already rooting for Rob.
All right. So just to get a feel of the table here, they're going to be going through the Adepticon mission. So they have player place terrain. And it's they're going to randomize and go alternate back and forth on that.
I'm not really sure what the priority here. I do know that both of them are going to be looking for some line of sight blocking here to kind of protect their troops. They've got the 2 really big pieces, as you guys can see there on the right, that are both line of sight blocking. Now the question is, do you use it more to protect your your Death Star or more to protect your troops at this point?
Well, I think it depends on who you are. If you consider that Rob is the guy that has the Wraith Knights, and that's going to be 4 shots on turn 1. But Jesse has the Wave Serpents, and it's an interesting mix match because they're both really good against each other. Because Wraith Knights can really hurt the Wave Serpents if they're trying to use their Serpent Shield to do damage, because then they don't deny the penetrates, and they'll get shot through. And they also really don't hurt the Wraith Knights. They only win on 5s. They still get a 3-up save. But where the Wave Serpents shine is that they can really hurt the Council on turn 1. So if or in this case the Beast Pack. So if it ends up going down to turn 1, and Jesse has top of turn, he can just dump all those Wave Serpent shots into the Beast Star and do a lot of damage early game. So it's a back and forth because the Wraith Knights can hunt down and kill the Wave Serpents easier, which are also Jesse's scoring units. So it's interesting. I like that both of these guys have chosen to take opposite supporting factors, because it's been a bit of a discussion to see what is the best supporting set for the Council or for the Beast Star, respectively. And there's a lot of discussion back and forth whether or not the Wave Serpents or the Knights are the better way to go.
This is interesting. So Rob won the die roll to place first piece of terrain, and you can see he's almost kind of fortifying that corner. I mean, I guess, again, to protect his troops and give himself a kind of a good spot to start with the Beast Star. But I guess the big concern always with the Beast Star is Eldrad slows it down. He's only moving 6. Obviously, you can play around that, kind of keep him in the middle and move him up, but he's going to make it to charge through terrain, potentially. I know in a game I played against Rob, I kind of used that to an advantage and made him try to come through terrain. Obviously, he's getting Barons, giving him offensive grenades, so it's not going to matter too much for striking, but still, it's going to slow him down.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that's also going to be interesting also is that if he doesn't put a piece of area in the middle, then Jesse's actually going to be able to focus fire out Eldrad, because Eldrad doesn't generate a save normally, and which is not totally different from most cases. It's more relevant to the Seer Council, but he needs terrain in the middle of the table in order to get that save.
Mm-hmm. That always fun focus firing for cover.
Yeah, which is funny because you can get past the 2+ save if it happens to be the guy that's in cover and the rest of them aren't. So keep an eye on that. And the one other thing that's going to be interesting here is that Rob is putting himself behind, giving himself the chance, because they don't know who's going first yet. So Rob is giving himself the chance to deploy behind that line of sight blocking piece of terrain here, and that'll help defend if he ends up getting second turn to go against Jesse's Wave Serpents.
Mm-hmm.
But don't get me wrong, both of these players want bottom of turn. Bottom of turn is going to be a big deal in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, the ability to jump out with your jet bikes at the end and contest, grab objectives, I think it's going to come down what the crutch of the game is going to be. Obviously, I think Rob having 5 jet bikes is kind of an advantage. In the same sense, though, Jesse's got the Dire Avengers, the Wave Serpents. They can get there kind of safely, but they're not getting there that late game.
Mm-hmm.
They got run, get out. So
right, and we've said this before, but it may. If you look at the mission again here, let's just go back to that so we can get an idea of what's going on. All right. So the Relic. I don't know that the Relic is going to be the game at all. I don't know that it's going to be relevant in this game. Neither one of these guys really has an easy way to get that. It's going to have to get really one-sided pretty quickly in order for the center of the table to be clear. You have the Council sitting there. You have the Beast Pack sitting there. They're going to need to get that opened up before anybody's going to be safe enough to grab that.
I think the other big thing, though, is you kind of talk about that style, and you're notorious for it with your jet bikes kind of jumping out that last turn, grabbing objectives. I think you can see that same thing happen with the Relic. I think you can see last turn, jump out, get on the Relic, grab the Relic, and that could be a turning point. Obviously, it's there, but if you lose thought about it and you kind of just leave it by the wayside and go, well, I'm not going to get it, he's not going to get it. If you have bottom of turn, it makes it a live objective for you. And then immediately whoever's going top of turn, not only are they trying to battle because they're, unless they can grab the objective, really likely going to not get it at all, they have to then be winning on objectives, on the 4 objectives, to not force it into secondary, or not force it into just a loss, and to force it to secondaries.
Sure. But I mean, the one thing you have to keep in mind, though, is that you have to be 12 inches from the Relic at the end of the game, at turn 4, in order to even have a chance to do that. Because you have to be able to grab it in the movement phase. So as fast as the jet bikes are, they're the same speed as Assault Marines for that purposes, or even for the Dire Avengers and the Wave Serpents. They can still move 6 and dump them 6. So, I mean, I don't know that it's going to be... It's still going to be really tough, because at the bottom of turn 4, you have to survive and be within 12 inches of the objective. And a real easy move for anybody who's going to be playing this mission, if you have top of turn and you want to protect against that, if you throw a model that's over, like throw it right on top of it, it doesn't matter if that model dies. It guarantees you that during the movement phase, your opponent will not be able to grab it. So you can really suicide every turn if you need to in order to keep that out of enemy hands.
So looks like they're getting objectives in place. So real quick, a couple shout-outs, I guess, before they start the match. As you guys remember from our previous match, we are playing this game currently on our beautiful Frontline gaming mat. Check them out. From what I know, the guys will be at Adepticon. They'll be out there playing. So as you guys can see from the look of the board, it looks great. We've kind of loved the one we've had here, so we're going to certainly be looking to get more and give you guys some mix-ups and some different looks throughout the games.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give you guys some money to pick up some from Reese. All right.
Who else do we have here?
We got some more stuff. We're working with, let's see, both I and Jesse are writers for Torn on Fire. You can check them out over here. So if you're not familiar with Torn on Fire, it is a ranking system, a tournament system. If you want to run a tournament, you can get that in here. It gives you all the software you need for that, all the backup you need for it, and it'll report all the results so you can get rankings out of that. And you can check it out here. Let's see.
And if you guys remember from our last video, we talked about them a lot. Obviously, we don't have rankings for Jesse and Rob up, mostly because Jesse and Rob didn't fall in the top 50. So if you see them on Adepticon, make sure to poke that one in a little bit and just kind of rub a little more salt in that wound.
Yep, they're not too happy about that. Okay. And yeah, so if you're checking this stuff out, we have our Facebook page and our YouTube page. If you don't get a chance to see this live, you can watch it later. Which is silly to say because you're watching it live. You're hearing it now. All right, let's head back here and see what we got.
All right, it looks like we're deploying. Oh, so okay. I'm gonna get the sheets to get the exact info, but it looks like Jesse's gonna be going first. I'm going to assume that means Rob on the die roll.
Okay.
So, interestingly enough, with Baron, it modifies your ability to roll to see who goes first. They both get +1, so kind of washes, but always a little sneaky thing people don't remember.
Yeah.
Baron gives it an extra +1.
It's a very powerful ability. I actually looked through a lot of the codexes to see if I could find anything nearly similar because it's quite good for other armies. I think Corbolo, or one of the Blood Angels rather, might be the only other one that has some sort of a reroll to go see who goes first or something like that.
Yeah, the only thing that modifies going first. Yes, I mean there's obviously everything that does C's, but. So what do you think, Jesse? So the big difference, obviously both are running a Death Star with psychic powers. The big difference being Wraith Knights versus Wave Serpents.
Yeah.
I think a big thing that Jess is going to have to do, and I watch a lot of people do it all the time, they get very complacent with not moving their tanks, their shooting tanks. Like, people kind of go, oh, well, they're in range of everything, so they're fine here. I mean, people have to remember there's always objectives to be going after and getting close to, so if it's safe, you got to keep them moving, always.
Yeah, and there's no disadvantage for Jesse to do that. His tanks are fast, so they can move 12 and fire both weapons. And if he's worried about snap shooting a shuriken catapult, he shouldn't be.
Oh,
Okay, so we have the update here. Go ahead and let us know what these powers are.
All right, so let's go down the list. So Rob, his Eldrad, who is not his Warlord, has Mind War, Doom, Executioner, and Guide. And then the Farseer, who's the Warlord, has Doom, Mind War, and Fortune. So a lot of Doom, a lot of Mind War, and obviously Fortune. So that's always good. It seems like not a great set of psychic powers. Obviously, he has Fortune. Doom's going to be big, but both of them are going to have a really good Deny the Witch potential.
Right.
So I don't think that, honestly, many offensive spells are really going to be reliably going off. I mean, I guess having two, he has a chance to get them twice.
Well, neither one of them has runes of warding, so actually they'll both be going off on, they only get denied on a 5, because they're equal to their other psychics.
Oh, I see. I thought Jesse had one. Because, here go I know Jesse. So, obviously, Jesse has a lot more with his Warlock. So, Jesse has his Shard Seer, who's not the Warlord. He has Executioner, Guide, and Death Mission. Again, the Guide's going to be kind of the crucial one in there. And then his Warlord has Fortune, Prescience, and Psychic Shriek. And then the Warlocks going down the list. We have Enhance, Conceal, Protect, Horrify, Conceal, Horrify, and Renew. So, being the Seer Council expert, how do these powers kind of shape up for Jesse?
They're actually pretty good. Something that people often try to get rid of on the council is Horrify, or I think I forget what the other name of it is, the defensive one, rather, to make yourself fearless. Because it makes you fearless and you have the shard and you don't need to worry about it. But I can tell you, and if Alan Pajama Pants Bajamovich is watching, we had nearly this exact same thing, except that I had Seer Council with Wraith Knights instead of Serpents. and he had support from Warwalkers. But we did this exact same thing in, I guess it was the quarterfinals of Torn of Fire. And, I mean, that was a really tough match, hard, well anticipated. But the difference came down to those Warlock powers. When you get Horrify off, you knock down the leadership -3 on Rob's Farseers. And so if he doesn't, he has to roll Fortune on a 7 rather than a 10, which can be, that one turn can make a big difference. So if he can get that off, those 9 powers instead of 10 from the Warlocks can make the difference between this game.
And like we thought, Rob won the die roll to go first. Obviously, gave Jesse, let Jesse take top of turn. Warlord traits seem kind of, I guess maybe not. So Jesse has the Warlord gets outflank. From personal, I think that's going to be incredibly irrelevant.
Yep.
Rob has the Heroes of Ages Past and Present out of the Farseer. That gives him a note here that says 2 rerolls.
Yeah, so that's the one from the Aendon book. You get 2 rerolls over the course of the game.
Oh, okay. I guess more relevant than Rob or than Jesse. So
sure. Although I do have to say that I'm surprised that Rob didn't roll on personal like Jesse did, because in this mission, if you have a Death Star like this and you can get scoring Warlord, it's Relic, and that's going to matter a lot. So neither one of them has enough troops that are strong enough to be able to jump out there early enough. So if he can get Warlord as scoring, that's a big difference in this game.
Definitely agree. And so obviously Jesse has all of his troops in reserve. Rob has all of his in reserve, plus the spiders are deep striking, and then he has his swooping hawks on the table. So I've been seeing some random debate with the swooping hawks. It's better to keep them on the table turn 1, let them jump then, or to keep them in reserve and have them come in so they're down on even numbers. What do you think is more relevant?
The tough thing with the Hawks is that they're very finesse. You need to play them exactly right in every mission. So there is no rule of thumb that determines all of these things. If you're playing in this scenario, Rob has Hawks, Jesse has Hawks. Jesse has first turn, so what he's going to want to do is he's going to want to wait until the bottom of turn, until his turn 2 to jump off, because that will be when Rob's can start to come in. Right, so it's going to be a fight back and forth, because they kill each other very easily with a blast, strength 4, wounds on 3s, AP 4, ignores their cover and their armor save. Either one of them getting the alpha will kill the other. So you want to be able to get the first try on it. So if the tough part is that if you're Jesse, you deploy them on the table. Rob has the choice to deep strike them or not. If he does, you remove them on the top of turn 2 so that Rob comes down on turn 2, and then you can come down on turn 3 automatically to take him out. If you're Rob in this scenario, I think deep striking was the way to go anyway, even if Jesse is smart enough to go with that. And I do have to credit Alan with that. He gave me that idea. But the reason is because you might not have him come in automatically on turn 2. And so if he comes down turn 3, you can then come down on turn 3 as well.
So kind of an interesting thing. We asked both players before the match. Interesting look at strategy. So Rob's goal was to use the Beast Star, hunt the Wave Serpents, hunt the troops, and that was his focus of the game. Jesse had a little bit different answer. Jesse said that he was going to do something similar, kind of go after troops, stuff like that. But he did make it very clear also that he was going to keep an eye out for opportunities to get on that Beast Star. And I do think the offensive for the Star itself is going to kind of favor Jesse. I think if Jesse has the opportunity to, having more psychic powers, having a little bit more, I guess, obviously he doesn't have the weight of attacks, having the Ren, he can kind of get in there a little bit. Jesse's looking a little bit more to attack the Star. Now, seeing as Jesse's going first, I think it's going to be a little bit harder for him. I guess in that sense, he's kind of protecting his troops, and he figures if the primary thing going after his troops is the Beast Star, then go for the Beast Star, slow it down, tie it up, make it so it can't get out and do damage. Obviously, both have hit and run, so you don't expect either one to be tied up for too long. I really think another key thing for Jesse, like we said before, is going to be trying to play around Eldrad and make Eldrad kind of punish Jesse, or punish Rob, I'm sorry, and punish that Beast Pack for kind of having the slower end and the slower get around. So, looks like Rob is just kind of measuring out those Wave Serpents. As Matt's always said, measure. The biggest thing with this edition, and if you guys watched our last Gamecast, Justin Cook couldn't stop but pointing it out in his post-game interview. You can measure in this edition, measure. You know, he's checking his distance from his wave serpents, making sure there's not going to be an issue on turn 1. We do know it is Night Fight. Probably not going to be too super relevant. Well, maybe. I mean, obviously, Conceal is going to give Jesse good enough cover anyway. And the Wave Serpents, for the most part, are going to ignore cover. So I don't think Night Fight's going to be too relevant of a thing here.
Yeah, the only thing it matters for is the Raid Knights.
So if you're Jesse, as the guy, Matt, as the guy who always plays Seer Council, what are you doing here on turn 1? What is your game plan?
Jesse's really unfortunate, right? I mean, he's got top of turn, so all of the initiative's on him. I'm surprised that one thing I am surprised though is Rob is just exposing himself here. If he has bottom of turn, he's just saying, go ahead and take this, because he's not hiding behind the buildings. He's not keeping any of his particular guys safe for any particular reason. I mean, all of the servants can just open up. He can even dump all the Dire Avengers at the same time and just go to town on him. All right, let's see what we got going on here. They're starting up.
Yeah, we'll tune in a little bit here, guys. I have a speed. Let me know when you want us unmuted.
Shoot.
What's that?
On the wrong side of the table.
Oops. Can we swap that easily?
Not super easy.
We easily could have forced that too. Ask Kevin if you can hear us. Just make sure you can.
Can you hear Matt? Yeah, he says no.
He can? Yes. Like right now, talking about hearing you? It looks like I might not be muted.
I will cast Fortune on you.
Yeah, okay. How you guys hear? To answer your question, Brown Nick, I wonder who that is. Rob won the die roll and chose to give Jesse first turn.
Not reroll, but I will burn my.
We will figure out this mute thing one of these game casts, we promise. We got a whole new mixing board to have this try to work, but this will be another time. You can pull us off mute at that point.
All right, yeah.
It's live all the time.
At least we're muted in our own ears.
What's this thing?
I'm going to try to stop it out there.
I don't know if you caught that, but Jesse failed Fortune on Perils, and he didn't use the Runes of Witnessing, but he did use the Ghost Helm. So.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, looks like Jesse actually failed his Fortune and chose not to use Witnessing, but only Ghost Helm, which is an interesting move. It really makes him have to back up. He wastes this entire opportunity to jump on Rob early.
Yeah, I really don't know if I like the play. I mean, obviously he's kind of holding on to it, but yeah, like you said, he's already kind of stuck at disadvantage of going first, and Rob's already, like, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Rob's just kind of laid his army out there and been like, sure, come, get it. You want it? Here it is. And I think that he's really just gonna waste a turn here, which, I mean, I'm sure Rob just doesn't care.
Doesn't mind at all. I mean, it could just be another factor. I mean, Eldar do this to people, but it could just be another factor of Rob getting in Jesse's head. Jesse's on camera. He's worried. He's got all these people watching. And so maybe, that's just the way to screw with them. Not a bad tactic. Once you get in somebody's head, you beat them.
What if I just pull us down? What if I just turn the volume off like that?
What's the range on this side, folks? 24? 36. You want the river base, please?
So, what do we got?
30.
Alright, so I guess what's he doing? He's making sure he's out of range of any kind of psychic attacks? What's he got? What does Rob have? I guess he's make sure. I guess he can't do, but he's got a move to do. So,
And Mind War is the other one.
I guess you can still hear us, even though it's down here.
How's the volume mix? They're quiet. Okay. Push that up. Maybe try turning that down. Let me see.
I'm gonna try this. So Jesse has done his runaway move. Always a fun one.
Back up. We'll have to fight another day.
Wasn't it a Bond movie? I was die another day.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, Jesse might just die another day.
It might just be that.
Might just be turn 2 instead of turn 1 now.
Well, so that'll be there's 12 inches out, hands on marker. So here to here is 32 inches, so I'll get stealth and track, correct? We don't stack.
Jesse's backing up for his super cover.
5 up to 3 up 10. Sword to 36 here. We will come over the
So that mute it.
Okay, so again, I've talked about this before in the past, but the mark of a good player is how often he pre-measures. You can see here he's measuring out every single option, every single piece, keeping his wave serpents. I'm assuming outside of the range of the counterattack. So if he can make them outside of 48, he can shoot into the Beast Star and still keep himself out of the danger of the Wraith Knights. Good move. I mean, again, he'd be getting a 4 or a 3 up cover save, but it's better to not get shot at than to have a great cover save.
So, from these guys, I am over 24. How far away is that?
We did check that over.
I'm just gonna crunch the numbers.
So, I am outside of range on these two from down. Inside on these two.
Okay.
Correct?
So he's leaving 2 guys in and 2 guys out. Not sure why that
All
is.
with 12. So, I can fire 2 weapons at full.
Not sure why he's
You guys not hear them anymore?
Shooting phase.
No, we can't hear them now.
Over here.
Turns off.
Scatter laser
Correct. Now we can hear them.
2 hits so far. No link. 3 hits. I will unleash my shield.
Yeah, he has to declare before.
They're all unleashed.
Yeah, he has to declare beforehand. Good call by Rob.
The shots are 3 from the
He might want to choose not to do it on the bottom too.
Link. 2s. 2.
One funny thing is that the Serpent Shield is so good that you can't even pull lookouts or what do you call it, focus fire shenanigans with it. You can't go based off of a certain cover save because it just ignores it all the
Yeah,
time.
right.
So it's just so good that you can't even pull shenanigans with it.
Yeah, you're outside.
But it's its own weapon that can be destroyed. I guess that's how it's being ruled at Adepticon.
Who knows?
So something of interest. I don't think it's going to matter too much in this one.
Put us up. Put us up right here. In case it is working. All right.
I think this is just what we hear. I think this is what they hear. Although this might be the issue.
Have to sit down, take a look at that another time. Alright, so he took a couple down there. It's going to be interesting here because First Blood is really going to be pretty critical. Rob is fairly sewed up on objective markers just because he has second a turn. He has more mobile units that can score or deny. He really has the objective set up pretty well. Jesse's in a tight spot. He needs to get First Blood and then try to contest objectives, but I mean, the Relic is really his option, which is difficult for him because he doesn't really have much that can do that. I don't know. I don't know that he can win the objective match in this round, so he might need to tie and try to go for First Blood.
I think I agree. I mean, they both have 7 troops. Was it Rob who has 6? I know Rob has 5 jet bikes.
So Jesse has 4 units of Dire Avengers and 3 Guardian jet bikes with the Warriors. Rob has 5 units of jet bikes and the Warriors, so he has 6 to
Jesse's 7.
Jesse's 7.
All right. I mean, that's certainly, I guess, going to in somewhat favor. Going to favor Jesse here, Jesse here, but I don't think it's really going to matter. I think you're right. I think it's going to come into Warlord, which in theory, I guess it's going to be easier for Rob to get Warlord because the Wave Serpent's going to go down a lot easier than something from the Beast Pack. Or Firstborn, sorry. I apologize. Neither one's going to get Warlord, I think, easily at all.
No, not at all. It'll depend on how the reserves come in. And it really looks like.
Nice try.
No, you're good.
Let's go ahead and get a side shot here.
Can we fix this side cam?
Yeah, because the first blood is not going to matter too much for this, because
the moving side camera.
yeah, the first blood is gonna be the big issue here. But it's that Jesse's reserves come in before Rob's. In every scenario, Jesse is down on this. Rob has the advantage at every point. So this is the interesting part. See, because Rob's taken all this damage, and I don't know that it was necessary. I don't know that he really wanted to get in there that early, that fast. I mean, honestly, the downside is that he could be threatened with Relic, but I don't know. The safer play might have been just to hide behind that building. He's losing all these Chimera. It looks like he's already getting down to the Razorwing Flocks.
He was shot out of range. Oh no. Oh, actually, do I have him? No. Shot out of range. He will turbo. How is Adepticon ruling? Can I turbo and run?
You can turbo and run. You cannot turbo and shoot.
Okay, I'm going to turbo and run. So my run move. Correct.
Okay, let's go back and check out where he's heading. It looks like Jesse did a whole ton of damage there. That's what I was saying. If he had hid behind, that building, he would have denied most of that damage. I know he was relying on his 4-up invuln, but there's and he did roll poorly, to be fair, but it's not enough to, I don't know, to warrant that sort of thing. And like we were saying, the relic is not really not going to come into play unless one side really overloads the other side. And if this continues, Jesse is in a position to really override Rob's position. And then he'll be safe to dump out his Dire Avengers, grab the relic, and walk away. The Wraith Knights are really good against the Serpents, but they're really bad against the Council. So I don't know, it's going to be both ways here. It's still a real toss-up. I think Rob has the advantage, but he just lost a lot of his strength. I mean, the Council may just very well be able to go in there and jump on him. But again, I'm not sure why Jesse didn't choose to use his one-time reroll and jump in there. I know he was safe to leave, so I get that it was probably the safer move. But having top of turn, the initiative is really on him to get things done. And if he was forward, I think he would have been in a good position to threaten Rob the following turn. Alright, so we're switching over to Rob's turn here. I got Fortune off.
Something Jesse was unable to do. Well, of course, this didn't go out in different lines, but for those of you guys just tuning in, those are the psychic powers for the Council.
The downside is you'll be shooting through the ruins and I'll still drop. Push drop.
Thought those all show up on different lines. See if we can get it looking a little bit neater for you.
Rob's checking out his options here, but if Jesse measured properly, they won't be able to make any shots.
Got him. Correct. Okay.
Turn counter on the overlay?
What's that?
Is there a turn
I
counter?
think we are also in range of this one.
Not on this one.
You are in
King's Fan, there is not one on this particular overlay. It is the bottom of turn 1.
Which you can see on this one. Rob's advancing his dudes.
Give me the corner again.
Without being too worried about it, he's going straight across. Although he does have Fortune, so he is protected a little bit. But it's going to be a lot of shots from those Serpents, and he's really relying on his Razor Flocks at this point. But they'll be instant killed. And he doesn't have much of a save to worry with there. Interested to see what he does. correct, Rob did not get the 4+ invulns from Divination, which he really might need in this mission because he can't rely on his cover save, being that the Serpents ignore it.
He actually didn't get into Divination at all. I do know he rolled Eldrad first and got the Mind Ward, Doom, and Executioner and Guide, and rolled Farseer, and actually his last roll on Farseer was the Fortune. So I mean he was
7 tries, man.
It was real close to just a no Fortune game, and so I mean we're talking a whole new game if one of these guys doesn't have Fortune.
Yeah. It's still, I mean, Rob's in a tough spot here. I'm not sure why he's going for it. I think his play, I think, is more just the pull back and wait sort of game. He's got the mobile Farseer in the unit there. He would deny First Blood a little stronger. He's got to wait for his reserves to come in. I think this turn is just more of a positioning turn to get where he needs to be to counter Jesse's reserves when they come in. So yeah, for Rob having the advantage early on, that Alpha Strike really does do a hurt to him, and it might be something that he learns from for Adepticon's purposes in order to stay behind that building. But if he can grab this First Blood right here, which, again, Jesse did not need to do this. He didn't fire with those 2 Serpents at the bottom there. He could have very easily pulled them back or made them just out of range, in which case it would not have mattered.
So it might be something with our broadcast settings. We're going to look into it.
So as I always say, the best defense is to not get shot at, but Jesse has given himself an opportunity to get taken down here.
Yep. Yes, sir. Move, 5 up, straw, 3 up.
Here we go for the First Blood. One pen got through.
+1 to it.
Ooh.
First Blood to Rob.
That's big. I mean,
that is a big deal.
We already said off the bat that Jesse's already going to kind of be battling here just to keep himself, you know, in the game to begin with. And we talked about how Jesse's really got to be looking to win off secondaries, and he just is already given up First Blood. So,
yep,
that's huge.
This guy's going to shoot the guy cover. You will get a 2 up. Yes, sir.
Which one's which?
Okay.
It's probably the other way around.
2 bucks. One goes through.
Shoot
Hold on.
back and check.
See if it's glance. Nope. There's 10.
Where do you for him?
No. 1. So shake it.
Okay, so he's got damage on 1 and he blew up the other.
You always find.
So yeah, that First Blood's going to be a big deal.
I believe the Beast Pack lost 4 of the Chimera. Actually, it looks more
Yeah,
than
but
the first turn.
quite a bit more than that. They
I know it was 4 going in just before the 4 from the first couple Wave Serpents. Well, so it's a 20-man to begin with, and it looks like there's 7, so 13.
He's almost 13 or 14 chimeras.
yeah, 13 or 14 of the Chimera are down,
It looks like it's 13 because he's 7 left.
and he's still choosing to advance with that.
Yeah, I mean the First Blood's gonna be huge, but I agree. I think at this point he got First Blood. Now he's in the driver's seat. I mean,
I'm not sure about these plays though. I think he really could have afforded to play more defensively. Jumping out there, making himself exposed for this. I'm not sure what he gains by doing this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something that he does get that I'm just not seeing. But I don't know what benefit he gets from this.
I mean, it's the only thing you can say is he's keeping the pressure on. I think you have to kind of to some respect counter, but at the same sense, I mean, cover's not going to matter, and you're not really going to can easily outrange the Wave Serpents. Now that First Blood's no longer a factor, I think you might see Jesse. We don't know for sure. You might see Jesse get more aggressive with those Wave Serpents.
He needs to be though. That's the dangerous part.
2 Eldar Guardians.
Okay.
I wonder if they
switching
remember
back
that it
to-
was Night Fight this turn.
They had Night Fight first turn, yeah.
I guess Jesse took a 5-up cover save from his Wave Serpent.
He took a 3-up actually on both of them, and 1 went through.
Oh, I thought you said 5-up. I apologize. I mean,
Yeah,
I know
that
I
was-
saw he rolled a 1 anyway, so it wouldn't matter what he took. But yeah,
Right.
All of Jesse's troops came on.
ooh.
Ooh, unfortunate.
Yeah.
So yeah, it appears so Jesse's reserve rolls are going to not be helping him here. Every single one of Jesse's troops has decided to join the battle. They saw the Wave Serpent go down, and now they're pissed. So now, if you're Jesse, do you have to? I guess you play the protect
One
your
jet
troops
bike
game.
unit is reserve, actually.
Oh, sorry, 1 jet bike unit stayed in reserve. So that's not.
Not quite all the end of it. Yeah, dangerous all around. I mean, he needs to go in. He just really does.
Fortune.
He took it.
Okay.
because Rob wins the secondaries game right now. He probably wins the objective game because they have to jump over there. If Rob has bottom turn, he can jump over and grab things. So he really needs to get either put the hurt on this beast pack and move into a position to take that center objective. But it's tough. He has to do it at the right time. If he does it too early, he could jump out with his Dire Avengers and put some more damage. But if he does that too early, he's going to lose all of them. So it's a bit of a gamble here. We'll see how far in he's willing to go. How far down does he really feel like he is right now?
I will not burn my reroll for pressure.
All right, anybody just joining in? We are Team Stomping Grounds doing a game cast here. This is our third out of our betas. This is a game between two teammates, Jesse Newton and Rob Porton, who both are going to Adepticon this year. And these two armies are Eldar Seer Council versus Dark Eldar Beast Pack. And we're going into it. It looks like Rob Porton has bottom of turn. Jesse went first, and this is the top of turn 2.
All
right, the mission itself is Relic. Relic and the 4 objectives are both primaries. So you see that little silver and orange objective in the center there for Torn of Fire, and the 4 corner objectives for Stomping Grounds. Whoever wins on that or has the majority, which would be 1-0 or 2-0, would win the primary. If it is both of them have neither, or they're both tied at 1, it'll go to the secondaries. And the secondaries are First Blood, Warlord, and Linebreaker. And as you can see right now, Rob Fortin is the only one that has one of those, and it is First Blood. So Jesse is pulling back, but with enough range, it looks like, to be able to still influence the game. And the council's going out. Here we go. Let's see what kind of charge he has. So he has a potential charge on this one.
I was 20 inches away. Just a matter of exactly right.
Okay, so it looks like an 8-inch charge for Jesse into the Beast Pack. This could be big. The problem is Jesse's measured himself out to be 8 inches. However, if he wants to do any shooting damage, he's going to remove some of those guys in order to do that. It might still be worth it.
66 watching.
All right. So yeah, council's moving up, moving into position to do some damage here. He's going to want to get this charge off, but he's still going to have to watch out for Overwatch. And if he does damage by shooting, he's still going to be removing some of those beasts in order to be able to make that charge. If he makes it too far, I don't know that he's going to be able to make that charge, and he'll be in exposed position for the counter assault.
He's not using your compact?
Okay, and something to note for any of you guys that either play Seer Council, Beast Pack, or are going to be playing either one of those, which is most people that are going to Adepticon. If you're going to make a charge, the Baron has to choose to move in the movement phase without the pack in order to use it during the movement phase. If he didn't do that, Jesse just did that right now, and you can see that little brown mark there behind at the back of the council. That's the Baron. If he ended up using his jump pack during the movement phase, he would have slowed down the entire council by making them roll 3d6 and taking the lowest to get through that terrain. Would have made that charge a lot harder.
He is going to...
I mean, flatten out. Let's see what we got. Looks like he's trying to vie for position over there against those Wraith Knights. Problem is, if he gets too close, those Wraith Knights will just punch him down. Yeah, move the camera.
I'm going to have TJ type up in response to them about that.
Where do you want to go?
Camera.
He's going to go... I'm going to move him flat out over here. Is that all right?
Okay, so they're all doing the movements here. The one serpent, it looks like it's moving into cover. He needs to make sure he does that well enough so that the knights can't see him at all.
So if I kill this front one, that guy is 11. Yeah, no.
That's almost at the corner of the table. What are you trying to go back there? What are you trying to hear? Going that way.
All of these are going to flat.
Put it here and shoot that way.
They're going to turbo boost. I'm going to put it away from you.
Alright, so he's moving again. He's pre-measuring and he's moving his Wave Serpents out of range of those Wraith Knights.
Go ahead and declare an assault.
Here we go.
There's-
Who is in range?
Okay, so he didn't decide to shoot them at all, which is interesting, and it's a good choice, I think, because the charge is probably going to be more effective than the shooting would have been.
Yeah, I mean, you run the risk of picking up this first few, making it a longer charge, which he's already got a bit of a charge
Right.
from the looks of it. And I think he's really, even though he's given up first blood, that Beast Pack's already lost 13 Chimera.
Yeah.
So if you get the chance to get in here and make a big charge, it could be a lot.
Charge distance?
All right, got some Overwatches. Oh, here's a fun angle for us. This is coming up from behind the council.
Your turn.
So he missed the charge.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, Jesse just missed that charge. That's going to be a big deal. He's now really exposed. He didn't do any damage last turn to try to make that charge.
Now, he
That's
does
unfortunate.
have Conceal Up, so I guess we talked about being able to kind of snipe out cover. With Conceal Up, it doesn't matter. So, it's gonna... Now, here's... the question really is, at this point, does Rob kind of make the counter? Here you go, let's see what his powers are going to be. I think if Rob can suit up and power up a lot, I think you'll see him kind of go in there.
Yeah, even with Jesse's fleet, he still missed that roll. He rolled a 2 and a 1 and then a 1 and a 2. Bad dice will kill you.
So it looks like Rob just tried to doom.
He just successfully cast Doom on Jesse.
Okay, yeah. So Rob doomed the Beast Pack doomed the council. For those who don't know, Doom allows. So in this case, it would allow Rob to reroll all failed wounding rolls against the council. And then Jesse tried to reroll his ability to shut it down for his Deny the Witch and failed both times. So that I think we're gonna see exactly what we thought, and I think we're gonna see Rob kind of take the reins here now that Jesse's kind of strung out in the open.
Which is not something that I would have called, but it ended up being something that might be useful for him. If he can do more damage here, he might be able to save himself the chance of getting Relic or deny Jesse's chance of getting it.
Definitely.
Still, the safer play, I think, for Rob would have been, from the beginning, fundamentally, is to be more defensive than his playing. He was playing as if he had first turn, but he had the advantage of going second. All right, so Rob's got Rob's Hawks, which he deployed in the beginning of the game, which is interesting. And they now chose to go in reserves.
Well, it's like you said, he's trying to get him off second. Jesse already went off, so I guess that kind of gives the advantage now to Jesse back here. So, I mean to Rob, apologies.
Yeah, Rob had the opportunity to see whether or not Jesse kept his Hawks on the ground. He did keep them on the ground, and then Rob replied with that by having his Hawks also deployed.
Real and sexes.
Spiders.
Dark Elder? Okay.
He got 3 out of his 5 unit jet bikes in, Dark Eldar Warriors and Warp Spiders.
Okay. So it looks like Rob got most of his reserves in. He was able to keep 2 of the Wind Rider Jetbike squads out of reserve, out in reserve, but his Hawks or his Wave Serpents, Warp Spiders, sorry, they came in, and so did 3 of the Wind Rider squads, as well as the 5 Warriors.
Yeah,
So
only 2 of the Wind Rider squads are still out,
and he jumped the Hawks off, I think.
and the Hawks took off in this phase.
Now I don't know if necessarily that the Warp Spiders are the worst thing to have in right now. They can hunt a Wave Serpent. They can kind of put a little bit of pressure on. If he's going to make this charge into the council, I guess there's not really a point in shooting with the 2-up cover save. But as you can see, Jesse's really being protective of his Wave Serpents. So the Spiders being able to deep strike in might be able to put a little bit of a hurting and maybe take out one of these Serpents. So
Sure. And he needs those Serpents. They're his troop carriers. They're also his damage dealers. Right now, his council is kind of muted. The Serpents are what's going to be able to reach these little red Wind Rider Jetbikes in the top right, and they're the way that Rob's going to win this game. So if he can take those out, that's why he's favoring these Wave Serpents, these tanks in the back. Okay, so yeah, Rob got a bit of an unfortunate scatter, but he's still in a position to take some rear shots at some of these vehicles. Okay. So yeah, Rob is able to deep strike his warp spiders back here in the terrain. They land in the terrain. He'll take some dangerous checks, but he still gets rear shots on some of these vehicles.
Gotta be a 7-1. Oh, the broadcast.
All right.
The broadcast has a bunch of results.
Okay. Anybody who's joining in for the first time, some of y'all I know are not familiar with Warhammer 40k as a game in general. This is a tabletop game. These gentlemen here have built and painted some of these models. Some of them are also barred, mine in person. But this is a competitive game that's played internationally. It's about 25 years old. It's originated out of England, and in this game in particular, right now we have 2 gentlemen that are playing on a competitive team. They will be traveling from Philadelphia, which is where we are at Stomping Grounds Games and Hobbies, over to Adepticon, which is in Chicago. That'll be this weekend coming up. So they're getting some last round practice in, and you guys are the beneficiaries of that. In this match, we have an objective. This game goes for a certain amount of time, and each player has to have objectives which indicate for on the battlefield something of importance. And so you can see those objectives are those little tokens. They look like poker chips around the corner. They have one on each of the center of the table quarters, and one in the center of the table that's a little bit of a different color. It's an orange and a silver. Each one of the ones in the corner counts as an objective or a strategic asset, and the one in the center is a relic, so it's kind of a valued piece by both armies. So the winner of this game is going to be the player that has some of his scoring units, which are these, for both players are different, but for Jesse Newton on the bottom of the table, he has 5 little warriors in the bottom right-hand corner and some of those little jet bikes in the bottom left. And Rob has the same jet bikes in the top right-hand corner. Whoever has those near an objective at the end of the game is going to be able to claim those objectives, and whoever has more objectives wins. Alright, so Rob has these 2 giant monsters that are jumping out here. They do a lot of damage in shooting, they do a lot of damage in combat, but they also cost a lot of points. And again, for those of you who don't know, this game starts out, you have a certain dedicated number of points that both players have agreed to, and for tournaments it's predetermined. So for Adepticon there's 1,850 points, and each model is worth a certain amount of points that is equivalent to how good it is. So, I mean, it's supposed to be anyway, right? That's
Yeah,
the intent. There's a lot of discussion that that's not the case, but each one of these is supposed to be valued at what they're worth. And so that keeps the game a little more fair. You don't buy wins. You can't. Yeah, that's not an option for you. But you can build and paint your own collection on the hobby side of it, and then you can build even armies that'll make for fun games. And so in this game, there's a bit of a dance. Both these armies have armies that are styled built off of Death Stars, which is one unit that does a whole lot of damage and generally survives for a long time.
I thought there were things that kind of look like moons, but not actually moons.
Not quite like moons. All right, so Rob is. These guys have been jockeying for position the whole game, but they're making the plunge right now. And Rob is moving in to enter into combat. All of those red guys into all the yellow guys, which will be the Beast Packs into the Seer Council. All right, let's get a close up here and see what's going on. Look at those beautifully painted models, huh?
Let's see, how many of these are Matt the Franzes?
Yeah.
Actually, not too many in this particular shot.
We got 3 on the table. 4 on the table. I forgot I saw Eldrad's in the corner. And then we got some more of those little red jet bikes off on the side table. Not too bad.
I heard that.
Yeah. Jesse can't talk. He broke all 3 of them.
How many times is really the question.
Yeah.
He's broken all 3 of them multiple times.
Okay, so he's doing some damage on these serpents now.
Serpent shield. It's not.
Okay.
So it takes a glance.
Okay, so he took 1 glancing shot.
Okay.
Now, I mean, obviously Rob was able to power up. Rob got Doom off. It seems like, in theory, on paper, this should be a favorable matchup for him. But still, he is charging in with a weakened Beastar. Right. It's lost almost half its actual models. Mm-hmm. And he's charging into a Seer Council that's at full strength. I mean, do we really think this is that good of an assault here?
I think, given the certain condition right now, it's maybe not the best chance the best assault because Rob has the advantage with being defensive, but he's choosing to be aggressive. The reason why it's a good move, especially if he was going second, is because he still has all of his Razorwing flocks. As far as I'm aware, anyway. And they're the ones that do all the damage. So he's going to get a lot of rending shots. It's going to go through his 2+ armor, go down to the 4-ups. And he has Doom, so he gets to reroll the rends on it. The Chimera are generally there to absorb wounds, and that's the downside. If he gets enough wounds back dealt to him, he's going to have to be pretty ballsy with it and maybe put some on the Baron to try to tank these wounds.
I mean, he's only got 2 Razorwing, though, in the list.
Mhm.
So, although they are more the punch, I mean, also with both Death Stars having hit and run, I really think it almost favors the guy who gets charged.
Mhm.
You know, you're going to get charged, you're about to hit and run out, and then you're going to get the kind of counter punch, which not even if you don't want the counter punch, you get the choice to counter punch. You got to get that additional information that that the person charging in the beginning didn't necessarily have.
Yeah, and I'm concerned for Rob. He might be jumping into this prematurely, and he might be giving away a game that he probably has won automatically. If he jumps in here, commits to this combat, and either one of them is able to hit and run out, then he'll be so far separated that Jesse can unload his entire army, all of his reserves, dump out the Dire Avengers and the Wave Serpents, and unload the entire thing into his Beast Pack, and potentially neuter it beyond repair or beyond influence in this game.
And for those of you guys who keep asking kind of a rundown of what this is, we're going to try to get that answer as much as possible without interrupting what these guys are talking about. I also like to recommend that you guys keep tuned for some of the stuff we're going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. We've got Adepticon, unfortunately, for the next week. But then in the first 2 weeks in April, we're going to be coming out with our 40k Academy video line all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/teamsgvideo, or SGvideo, I believe. And what that's pretty much going to be is it's going to be a rundown of the basics of Warhammer. The basics of 40k, how to play the game, what the game is. So check those out. You can expect those in about 2 weeks once we get back from Adepticon.
All right, cool.
Do you want to kill 3 though? 6 or whatever. Would you like me to take the Richard? Do you have anything else shooting at him because he fell? What's your leadership?
I'm not sure what the Warp Spider's doing. It looks like they jumped out to hit the Dark Eldar Warriors rather than go after a Serpent. I'm not sure that was the best move. I know he's trying to hunt the troops, and that's the point of the game, but it looks like that Wraith Knight's in a pretty good position to do that in a second anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the big mindset. He's already got the... I guess he is at the troop disadvantage. But yeah, I think that's... I don't know. You're going to put him out there, you're going to potentially get him hurt, and they obviously aren't going to be able to do much. They do have a lot more movement than a normal unit, so that could be his theory, that they're going to put some work in there and then just make their way across the field. But I think those 2 wave serpents got turned on and just light them up.
Yeah, I think that they were the more critical unit to hit.
3 is Protect, 7 is Conceal, 5 is Horrify.
So this is the interesting thing. Rob knows how this works. Horrify is the big power from the council that hurts the Beast Pack. Horrify, what it does is each of these guys has to take their powers, their buffs. In order to turn their buffs on, they need to take a leadership check. And Horrify makes it a lot more difficult to take that leadership check. So if he can make it so that the buffs on the Beast Pack do not go off, the council has a serious advantage in it.
I'm taking some wounds here.
Okay. Yeah, and 2+ saves rerollable. He's not going to get a chance to get through most of that.
No. I mean, yeah, it's the thing. Jesse has Fortune up here. I think this charge, the more I keep thinking about it, is doing nothing but favoring Rob right now.
Yeah, he has a very good chance to make it, to do some damage and turn the game in a hard way, but I don't know that it's enough to risk. He's also risking. He's in the advantage right now, but he's risking giving up that advantage. He could be throwing away the game here. I always find it personally really difficult to make a move that potentially loses me the game outright. There are a lot of times, me and Nick Nadavati have talked about this a bunch, but there are a lot of times that you definitely will make moves, even if they're a little risky, if they automatically win you the game. But very rarely if they automatically lose you the game.
So there you go. Your key tip of advice for the match from #1 Tour de Fire rank Matt DeFranza is losing the game makes it very hard to win the game.
That's right. So try not to do that. John Madden.
The punts are real.
John Madden of 40k. I think if he ends up losing this game, he won't win. Okay, so he just did some damage with something on the shooting there. Was that the Mind War? Let's see what he does.
I think it must have been. Madden is right.
Oh no, I've also protect. To my work.
Just to protect.
Oh, okay, just to protect. You got.
Mind War, kill the protect.
Oh, Mind War killed one of the protects.
Mind War OP.
I had my nice little cheat sheet, but they stole it.
Oh, man.
Precious.
All right, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to dump them in the chat, and we will try to get to them as we can while we're commentating on this. Also, if you have any comments or ideas for us to improve this is the beta stage for us, and we're trying to make this something that is viewable and good to watch. For any of you who are not 40k players or don't exactly know what's going on, as Matt said recently, we will be having a YouTube channel, or a YouTube series that will be going up on our channel, which is linked beneath. And that will be showing you how to do the very basics of the game, quick little videos to give you the starter kits, the idea of how to get this thing going. Okay, so Rob is moving around his really quite mobile units. He's putting himself in a dangerous position there, but also in a position to be able to control that objective, that center one. And if he's able to pick that up in his following turn, he can move off with it. And having the relic almost seals him this game, because that's the only chance that Jesse has.
I mean, the problem is you have to think that unit, that 3-man unit, is going to get lit up by the wave serpents.
Yeah.
Now, the advantage that gives Rob is it's going to force Jesse to move those wave serpents out from behind the wall to go after the jet bikes,
Right.
which then is going to allow those the spiders that we see at the bottom in the middle. Those spiders have a chance to then get over and make short work of the wave serpents. So I guess you could say this is kind of kind of feeding a unit to try to play for the long game. I mean, obviously, always not a bad strategy, but in the same mindset. I mean, he's got less troops already to begin with, and now he's going to kind of throw one away just to taunt the relic. I don't know.
It's not a bad play. I mean, he's thinking a couple turns ahead, and it's in order to get Jesse to expose himself. That's kind of what he needs to do. There's also no guarantee that the wave serpent's going to take it all down.
Is that what you just asked?
I wouldn't mind, actually. But we got to keep it rated G for all the kiddies.
I don't think we're charging enough for that one.
Yeah.
Or can afford all the lawsuits. So yeah, we're gonna keep all of Jesse Newton's clothes on.
All right, to play Siki, comment on the overlay. We can try to integrate the race symbol somehow. And yes, we are keeping the graphic designer busy, which is me. I'm trying to create these overlays without knowing much of how to use Adobe. So if you've noticed, we've had a new one every single game. So slowly we will get everything that is needed. But yeah, we'll go ahead and try to get something like that in there.
Ooh, horrify
Okay.
fell.
Did Rob decide not to charge?
I guess he must have.
Interesting choice.
Yeah, I mean Jesse is away casting Psychic Power, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Rob gets himself out in the open and then just doesn't do anything with it. So we are in the top of turn 3.
Interesting.
See,
It's the offensive version. You lose self-control. You lose those special things.
Reveal. Yeah, he's using reveal on him. And it's denied.
Fortune.
got the fortune.
Okay, now what's really interesting here, I mean, I don't know why, I have no idea why Rob didn't charge here. I know he's trying to present all of his options at the same time, but that just really seems quite silly. He just...
Yeah, but now you just open up that multi-assault.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse can position his guys correctly so that the closest one
Is Eldrad.
is either Eldrad or the Beastmasters or whatever he wants to take down, he can just target.
Yeah, I mean, now you're just asking for trouble at that point. You're just going to feed him those freebies.
I'm not sure. This is interesting plays by Rob Fortin. We're gonna get an interview at the end of this game and find out what he was thinking during this, but I'm not quite sure what's going on here.
So for anyone who's talking a little about advanced strategy here, we talked about being able to place his models. One of the nice things about this edition is when you're taking any kind of wounds from shooting, you take them from always whatever model being shot at is closest to the model, the unit shooting them. So what Jesse can do here is Jesse can take his yellow and blue jet bikes and run them up alongside this giant beast pack here and make just one guy as close as he can to the Beastmasters or Eldrad and have everyone else kind of just a little bit farther away, which is going to make those wounds start there and really could kind of put a hurting there.
Yeah, Jesse really has is in a good position here to do a lot of damage and come back into this. Let's see. So for those of you who came over from because of Jeff Robinson in control, he is the man, and you did the right thing. Jeff is a player over on the West Coast. He, as you guys know, I'm sure if you've come over here, is a awesome StarCraft player, and is an improving Warhammer player, we'll say. So he had some good experience over here on the East Coast playing with playing the Torn of Fire Invitational. It was a pleasure having him. And he plays with the team called Zero Comp from Frontline Gaming over on the West Coast there. And yeah, so he's been playing this army. He's been doing, I guess, with Tyranids recently, as far as I know.
Stupid bugs.
Silly little bug Zerg things. Okay, so Jesse looks like he's going for the multi-charge rather than the shooting damage. So he's going to line himself up so that he can get those 3 red jet bikes in the center. He really doesn't want to give up the relic, which is, I guess, is a fair point. He doesn't doing all the shooting damage might allow him to lose the relic. And again, good foresight from Rob, force him into a difficult position.
I just knocked your front guy.
All right, killing my dudes, always killing my dudes. This guy, Jesse Newton has brought more models. All right. Busted dudes. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so he looks like he's trying to get the multi-charge off here. I don't know that it does much for him. If he's going for... I don't know. He's giving himself the options. And also a good help would be to space out the council a little better for Jesse in the future. That tack temple that he's got sitting right there, the orange thing, would give him that 2-inch spacing that he could use to maximize his ability. He's trying to figure his options here. Counting out the pieces, seeing what he's going to shoot at. No matter what, he's exposed. As you can see, Rob's been throwing his guys around to each side. So that no matter where Jesse goes at this point, he's going to get shot by a Wraith Knight at some point.
Seems to be a lot of timid play on both sides of this.
There is, yeah.
I guess Jesse's tried to be aggressive. His charge dice have decided he's going to be timid. So sometimes the dice make decisions for us.
That's true.
No. 12 from in front of him. He was the one that was over here. So 12 from over here is all the way over here.
Got those little quips back and forth about ranges. Rob's really starting to hem him in here. He's got the relic he's threatening with. He needs to get his wave serpents are there on the side. They need to die, otherwise they're gonna retaliate well. His council, his beast pack is moving up. Both the Wraith Knights are starting to flank out. He's really starting to hem Jesse in. He's got to make a serious move here to do real damage in order to get back into this. I'm curious to see what Jesse decides to go with here.
You're going to go with hide from the Wraith Knights.
Wave serpent? Yep.
Serpent's taking some shots.
The 2 underslung with Sapphire.
Oh,
And we're moving. Ooh, new angles.
Look at them models. Pretty.
Underslung?
Oh.
Alright, so we can see those tanks in the background there are shooting around and hitting these guys.
What are you talking about? I had 6 once. I rolled 6 dice because I rolled 5.
Tensions are high. The game is on the line. Jesse is getting a little bit lucky here. He's getting a lot of shots out of these serpent shields.
5 full hits. 2s. 5 wounds so far. No cover on that.
We're gonna get some awesome charge action here, hopefully in a second.
I'm hoping somebody makes a charge here eventually, or decides to make a charge.
Yeah, right. We had an entire battle report last week where we had an all of 0 combats. It was a thing.
Yeah, it shows you the prevalence of combat in this edition. And then in this one, Jesse tries to make a combat and fails, and then Rob acts like he's going to make a combat and then chooses not to last minute. Not sure what's going on here.
So, for anyone who tuned in last week, this matchup was requested: Beast Star versus Seer Council. Our next battle report is going to be once we get back from Adepticon. I believe the plan is Monday, April 14th. If you guys have any matchups you'd really like to see, if not, a good chance we'll probably pick whatever was top table at Adepticon and just bring one of those out. But if you guys have anything in particular you want to see, shout out, let us know. We are happy to oblige.
So 2 non-penny? 2 non-penny, correct? Last penny. Right? Penny check?
Yes, Cage, I believe it was you.
Good. You guys?
You're welcome, Cage.
I don't think you have an extra, right?
Thanks for posting.
So you want to look at that,
If you guys can think of stuff throughout the course of the week, you can always post it to our Facebook page at Team SG Video, or Facebook.com/Team SG Video, or you can email us at info@teamsgvideo.com. Chaos Space Marine matchup. Well, we had, you mean pure Chaos Space Marine? That'd be interesting. We had last week, we had Demons with Chaos Space Marine allies. I mean, there are definitely some decent Chaos Space Marine lists running around. There's the kind of spawn heavy spam that we saw a lot. We saw at 11th Company. I remember seeing at top tables.
Yeah, James Watkins is the guy who's playing that. He's a buddy of mine, actually. He
Did really well at Battle for Salvation as well.
He was also Battle for Sedition, yep, and he did well there. He made top bracket with that list. It's not really popular. I haven't seen it much, or anybody else play it besides him.
And plays it fantastically.
He does very well. It's a great counter meta list, and I like it for that reason.
So his Skywalaser and his catapult.
As far as that, I mean, there are a lot of guys that are really big Chaos Space Marine fans, but my goodness, man, they are struggling in this meta. I'm not sure what they do that's quite good. I mean, the only other decks that I can think of that might struggle more than them is Dark Angels.
Yeah.
At least post 6th.
The biggest problem with Dark Angels is they are just, they came out and we're bikes. We have all the cover in the world, and then came the Helldrake. And all the cover you can ever generate.
Wave Serpent Shuriken weapon on the bottom, is it hole mounted or is it?
I believe it's 180.
It's 180. It's 180.
I mean, it's as model, but
And sometimes even the booth will come in and give some judging calls. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Dark Angels, they are the cover army in a format right now that doesn't give a crap about cover.
Yep.
Helldrake, Tau, Eldar has more cover. So all the cover you want, they just give no craps.
okay.
And Chaos Space Marine, unfortunately, are just a little. They do a little bit of everything, but they cost a little bit more for everything they do.
It's weird. This is weird. Jesse is dividing all of his efforts into random places. And I don't know. I think focus is what was needed right there. He's still got the 3 Guardians in the middle. He's still got some of the Wave Serpent, the Warp Spiders left.
Well, I think he's leaving the Guardians for the charge. I don't think he can see the Warp Spider. If you see the little bit of terrain that sticks up, that piece, I actually know that piece well, is actually pretty solid there on the side. I'm gonna bet that one guy is just. Oh no, I guess not.
It's pretty clear. Yeah, you can see through that.
Oh,
so here's the charge. It's finally happening. All right. So he's doing some Overwatch. It looks like those 3 Guardian jet bikes are firing back. He's got 4 hits. Wow, that's impressive.
I think it's their twin link, right, from jet bikes.
Still, so what is that? 12 shots, essentially. 4 hits is pretty good. It's 1/3. Double what it should have been, at least.
You and your math hammer. How many fortunes do you get in a tournament normally?
Yeah, 50%.
Exactly.
Fortune leaves me. It's 3 hits with his Beastmasters. He's doomed, but he got nothing out of it.
Now, obviously, the only bad thing with the multi-saw is you lose your bonus attack.
Yeah.
But you know that.
Which is a bit of an influence in this game. Ooh,
Well, measuring tape, close up. Those are our Games Workshop measuring tapes.
Because they're not all friendly.
That's a good point, Cage. If you saw from the overhead how Jesse's tailed back really, really far, I believe his primary is actually going to be the 3-man. Just because he can get, you know, as long as he doesn't roll something ridiculous. But I don't even think with 12 inches he's going to get those back couple guys up to that 3-man. Oh, he lost one, though.
He killed him.
Making that charge.
Making that charge a little further. We might still not yet see combat in a gamecast. Except for that first one, right? Or did he even get in that first one? I think the Vesta Council, or was the Vesta Star just ran off the table.
Jesse just lost that guy. There was
only one wound on that guy.
Jesse lost with a 2-up rerollable.
Yeah.
And there was only one wound on that man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The 2 were on the other guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So making sure he rolled that right.
Uh-oh. He might be out of range.
He might be out of range. We need a judge call on this.
Nice.
He got it.
Hey, we have combat.
Combat is happening.
Time to punch. Not necessarily saying either army punches too fantastically well.
They kind of slap each other at this point.
Slap hands.
Both of them have fortune up. Not too much is happening.
Yeah, I mean, well, fortune means exactly what? Because Jesse just failed a 2-up rerollable on the Overwatch. So, yeah.
Bad dice beat you every time.
Charges. So he will.
Needs to maintain coherency here. This is a difficult multi-assault to get off, but he looks like he's doing all right. He moved himself up in the movement phase properly in order to get this to go down. A lot of times it's people try to get multi-assaults, but the movement phase is what's most important during a multi-charge. The assault portion of it is kind of automatic. It just kind of happens to you. But the movement is where you determine how the assault phase is going to go.
So he's it?
Yeah, he's getting 3 hammers on the Beast Pack and 1 hammer on the Wind Riders.
Does Baron have hammer? He does. So Baron.
Yeah, right.
Sure. One die.
Let's see what our action cam is going to show here. So we get a better action cam view. Let's see if we can get our just some jet bikes. Yeah, let's see who guesses about our action cam. Go. In the meantime, though.
The leadership check, by the way. For how many times did they come? You can't for his pending. No, you pass the pending.
And the action cam. Let's see what we got to move here. Oh, there we go. There's Pat Scanlon, our soon-to-be resident Philadelphia police officer.
So,
yeah, here we go.
Hammer rep. So far, sir.
Is that
That's good.
that's where it needs to happen?
Yeah. I mean, if you can go a little right so we avoid the pillar a little bit.
Oh, the Baron, you're absolutely right.
So make this always a little better. If someone out there wants to donate us however much money it would be for us to get a robot to find the best angles of this for us, or whatever they have in the NFL games, the big string over the stadium that just rolls the camera along.
That's right, Kickstarter for that thing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take all donations. You can send them to Matt Serino, my personal account number. But yeah, so anyone wants to kick in some money for that, we're working on it. Like we said, this is our 3rd weekly beta gamecast. This is our 4th overall gamecast. We said Monday, April 14th. We're gonna fingers crossed, knock on wood, however many things you can say about that.
Aren't we doing it on Wednesday as well, on the 9th?
Oh, we are. I apologize. Look at me giving you guys bad information. We're doing it Wednesday the 9th, just as our hey, look, we're back from Adepticon. And then yeah, Monday the 14th should roll back into our formal weekly schedule and should get us hopefully out of beta and into. I mean, we're kind of out of it. We're in beta. We're still working some things out. Our perfectionist Matt DeFranza wants his overlays to look better every week.
Yeah, Baron.
So yeah, you can explain. They're your jet bikes, so.
So anyway,
Okay. Oh yeah, for let's see. I'm gonna answer 2 questions in a row here. For 2 more, the GoPro is a good camera for post-production video, but for live streaming, it's not quite as effective. Unless you know of something that I don't, I'd be happy to incorporate that, but it doesn't work so well for live streaming. I don't think that it actually has a function to run with this. And to Cage 2013, the jet bikes are mounted on. Those little pegs are mags. You can find them. They're like office supplies or kids' toys for building. They have a magnet on either end, and I put a magnet on the bottom of the jet bike so that they can click on there.
If you want to see what the GoPro angle looks like, we do in our normal normal battle reports that we record and edit. If you go to our YouTube page, which you will see below your live stream right now, you can check out some of our other battle reports along with the Gamecast. We actually do, pre-recorded battle reports. We do interviews. We kind of speed them up a little bit. There are condensed version about 20 minutes, and we use the GoPro for that for all of our overhead stuff. So yeah, check that out as well.
Yeah, I have more space now over here.
So yeah, I mean, keeping coherency is really going to be the crutch here. It's going to allow him to either lose or gain some attacks.
Yeah, one side or the other. He really wants to dump the attacks onto the Wind Riders.
Yeah.
Because the Wind Riders are going to be able to get away if he doesn't do that. And the Wind Riders are really what are going to be the game here. So you can say, all in all, the 3 models that Rob paid in order to get Jesse to make this move are probably not a bad choice.
Yeah.
There we go. So he's going to get 2 guys in that combat. And because he multi-charged, he's only getting 4 attacks on that.
And then we're going to get the always fun how to hit and run rules. I guess Rob lost one guy there and from Impact Hits. But we're going to get the really fun hit and run. So both players will dice off to see, or they'll both decide if they're going to use the hit and run roll. Then they'll dice off to see who's going to hit and run first. Whoever rolls higher will have to hit and run first. They'll have to pick a direction, roll, and check, and all the fun.
There we go. 2 more. Let's go ahead and get a little RC car and put this webcam on it. Or, you know what else we could do? We can get one of those little mini remote control helicopters. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. We can get a blimp and then put, TJ's small. We could get a blimp. We could put TJ in it. A very small blimp. We're talking like 4 inches, 5 inches long. And just, fly over the game. And eyes in the skies with TJ Myers. He's going to hear this in a second. And I'm going to see a nasty comment come chat about him being short. So.
And 2 more. As far as that live streaming from ESL, if you could find a link for us or something like that, I would be happy to try to convert our GoPro to run with this system. So if you can find out a way for that to happen and shoot it over to us, we'd appreciate that help.
So I will hit all 3s.
Okay, so challenge didn't do anything. Combat now, it looks like Jesse didn't get to do too much. Let's see what we got here. So he's starting to swing in now to those bikes.
6, 8 total.
7 wounds.
So he's got a 4-up rerollable invuln save.
Right.
And they're all against the Chimera, which I guess aren't bad for Rob. I mean, they're kind of the meat of that unit, but they're really not what packs the punch.
They're not. Yeah, they're ablative wounds. They're there to die. Although he could be really ballsy and go ahead and make those saves on Baron. And get the 2+ rerolls.
Yeah, 2-up rerollable, and then he fails one. And now this advantage Rob has gone. Little head cams for most of the mobs. Yeah, I don't think we have that in our budget.
But again, if you want to give us that cash, we will go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
All right, so it was just 3 of the Chimera.
3 Chimera nuts. So he's down now to 4 Chimera left in that unit. So,
I'm fearless still.
hey, they're both fearless. I wonder why. Shard Seers.
That's right. If you're not taking a Shard of Anaris in your council, you're making a mistake. Normally, I don't say something so bold, but that's how it is.
Yeah, right. You talking in absolutes?
Yeah, I'm the guy that was using Swooping Hawks back in what, 4th edition?
4th edition.
When they were like the
5th
token
edition,
terrible. Yeah, all the editions.
6th edition. I see a lot of Swooping Hawks bouncing around now. It's wild. I wonder why.
I was the only guy using them for like years. Rob's blaming his bad dice on the box. That's a new one.
I like the IMAX camera idea. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to hit the lottery tomorrow. And we're going to get IMAX cameras all over this place.
Yeah, with the lottery, we'll be able to get like what, 1, 2?
Maybe.
Five moon
Five
skulls,
moons.
and then moving on to the Baron.
I mean, he's got the 2-up rerollable armor save right now, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean...
Yeah, he needs to do 36 wounds mathematically for one of them to go through.
Oh, that's good. It's a little arithmetic for everyone there at home.
Yeah. It is a 6. Yep. 4s right now. Doom.
There you go.
He's got 9 wounds altogether.
Initial? Hold on. He is.
You should have been in business house.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I know.
It looks like Eldrad's going to be out.
I'm just determining who my initial is. RFI 6. My initial will be 6. Conceal.
He's got that 2-up rerollable. That's a 2.
Still good?
Oh, that's a 1. Ooh, but a
It's
2.
So this is the part that everybody's angry about right now.
I get to roll 1 die at a time.
2 plus, 2 plus.
1 die at a time. Always enjoyable. Nice. Ooh, it's a 1. And it's a 5. 3.
Okay.
He's all good. And there is the strength of the Seer Council. It's pure resiliency.
2 plus rerollable. No way. And then 4 plus rerollable inroads. So, yeah.
All right, now. And then here's the Razor Ring Flocks. These are the guys that matter.
Yeah, they've got that Ren. So, obviously, the Ren's going to get that 2-up rerollable armor and make it a 4-up rerollable invuln save.
But that's essentially their Chimera at that point. They're 50-point Chimera.
Yeah.
But they need to hit. And wound.
So,
And they're doomed, so we should re-roll that other one.
Has to be 8.
there's Eldrad. Doing nothing.
I thought initiative step it would be this guy.
Check it out later.
It's a different initiative step.
All right, Timur, we will check out that link and
You pick one contact per initiative
get
step.
back to you
If
later
that's an
on.
initiative step, this is the closest model. So it has to be him. Which one? Which guy?
Well, that looks exactly like what we're looking for.
I'm
So
gonna
we
use
will
a GoPro.
we will go ahead and check that out later. Thank you.
I thought it was
Appreciate the help, Timur.
All right. Huh? Roll what? I already said that. Roll 6. You want me to roll again? 6 again.
Just Renzel.
I already saved it.
Yeah, we could just move the table out of the way. You guys can just follow. You guys go.
Yeah, I really you're literally saying I'm cheating.
We just keep not rolling dice.
I rolled it in there. I rolled it in there. Kept it out of there. You're literally saying I'm
Deciding
cheating.
which one you're gonna.
Everyone loves the pocket cam.
Looks good. Looks good. So, this is funny because this is a practice game for a tournament with an army that might not be
I
played.
said it was 8, and I rolled my die. And you said no mistake. So I win combat by 4.
3, 4, yes, 4.
Doesn't matter because they're both yours.
Just them.
All right. Leadership for the 2 bikes. And they run.
Yep.
See, what the run here is doesn't matter anyway. He's free. He's gonna rally at this point. The only downside is he won't be able to rally in time to get the
You
objective.
think they're going to rally?
Yeah, unless they could do bad things and not rally, but they should be okay.
Those two are going to fight. Did you realize that? Easy, both have red shirts on. One thing to maybe mention is Jesse's last Protect Seer died on that Overwatch. That was the guy that dealt the woman 36.
Oh, both of them died?
So because of that combat and the Overwatch, Jesse has lost Protect, so he's no longer going to have a 2+ save in combat. I mean, a 3+ rerollable in combat is quite good anyway, but that 2+ that change from a 3+ to a 2+, it really makes them able to be hurt at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he lost the first Protect Seer to the Mind War. I believe it was turned on Rob's bottom of 2. Was that bottom of 1? Bottom of 2.
Bottom 2, yeah.
And then it was bottom of 2. And then he lost the second one there to Overwatch. I guess Jesse really didn't have much option but to keep that Protect guy. I mean, he had to get someone over there to kind of get in, but yeah, that's kind of brutal.
Let's see if they're going to hit and runs. It's a tough choice here all around. I think Jesse doesn't really want to at this point, but he knows that Rob's going to, and if he doesn't declare to do it now, he'll lose all that extra movement.
Well, on top of that, he'll be sitting out in the open with 2 Wraith Knights flanking him.
Yep.
So, yeah. And he's going to be sitting there and give Rob the opportunity to just run right back in, buff up.
They could go ahead and just pull Yin Yang here. Split to each other's scoring units, both Death Stars break off, and quit engaging each other because they don't do enough damage. And then they will split and go in the opposite directions, killing off each other's scoring units, and spindling around. It's kind of like in StarCraft 2, it's like a base race at that point.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, a little StarCraft reference.
There you go.
So like we said there, when both players have the hit and run special roll, whoever's turn it is chooses they'd like to use the roll. Then whoever's turn it isn't chooses they'd like to use the roll. Then if both players choose to use the roll, they dice off to see who hit and runs first. So Rob won the dice off, so now Rob gets to it. And exactly like you said, Matt, Rob's going to kind of flank into Jesse's units and kind of go back for those troops. Now, a big thing to remember is kind of the crucial thing with hit and run is you have to make sure every model in your unit can clear the enemy.
Let's go ahead and make some peace between these fellas.
We're going to have Matt go play moderator here. It's been a long day for everyone, so there's a little bit of raw hostility going on here. So what this hit was really going to do is it's going to get Rob the opportunity, and Rob's got kind of set for a nice next turn. Remember, it will be his bottom of 3. He can make a jump over. He can go for those jet bikes right there at the bottom. He could get for a wave serpent. If he's really feeling saucy, which being a Bears fan, he's often used to disappointment, so maybe he needs a little bit of success in his life. But he might make a triple assault here and go for both wave serpents and the jet bikes. I mean, the sky's the limit. Again, unless you're a Bears fan, and there's a very, very quick limit to that. Rob's going to watch this later, so he's going to have a lot of nasty things to say about me making fun of his Bears.
All right, so yeah, as per the rule for the hit and run, if after the first person has gone and hit and run, the second player is not still engaged, they are only left to consolidate. They do not get to use their hit and run also.
So answer 2 questions. First with Cage. 2 of the wave serpents laid into the warp spiders. There is only 1 remaining. You can see, or 2. I'm sorry, the one's fallen down right above our time clock there. And for the clincher, right now for our Gamecast, we're primarily doing more tournament lists. Adepticon Grand Tournament, which is what this mission is coming up this coming weekend. The tournament itself starts on Thursday. It's the largest 40k tournament in the country, so we've been kind of doing a lot of prep for that. We also do our normal pre-recorded battle reports that are edited down and sped up. Those we kind of throw occasionally here and there, and some fluff and some fun and some themes. And expect that we'll be kind of kicking some stuff out. Like we said, this particular battle report was suggested to us last week by our Gamecast was suggested last week by Cage. He wanted to see his matchup. So if there's something you want to see in particular, hit us up. Let us know. You can email us. You can message us on Facebook. Our email is info@teamstompinggrounds.com. Facebook is facebook.com/teamsgvideo. So check it out.
I do believe that there was somebody on our YouTube channel that asked for anything having to do with Black Templars.
Ooh,
And
well,
I know that both of the players currently at the table play Black Templars.
and both are actually successful Black Templar players. Both of them went down to 11th Company circa 2012, I believe it was. 2011, maybe even. Man, was it that long ago?
Long time back.
I guess 2011, yeah. And I guess one of the first 11 companies, and went down. Both of them did pretty well with it. So we've got two good Black Templar players here.
So Jesse's using his consolidation move to bundle up a little bit, move out of the way. Rob is in a great position to jump out and kill lots of wave serpents, moving into the bottom of 3 here.
Man, they want to see. First of all, Cage is calling you out of the booth and wants you to get out there and do some battling. But against Kron Air,
let's see. I do actually have a battle report of that up. Right when 6th edition hit and Necron Air Force was like the thing to fear, I went ahead and built this Eldar list, which is currently being used, in order to deny that a power. So if you go to mastercraftgaming.com, you can check it out. They have their they have that battle report up there where I was playing Jesse, and Jesse had his Necron Air Force. So you can see how that went against Kron Air Force.
You know what's going to be really disappointed? No one in these chats ever says they want to see Drop Pod Space Wolves.
Man, those guys, no love for those Space Wolves.
You know, I got 2 bracket wins under my belt with Necron Space or Drop Pod Space Wolves. You know, I guess 2 second or I guess 2 second, whatever you call them, second brackets wins under that.
Yep.
Why do we love Drop Pod Wolves? As we said on Torrent of Fire, Space Wolves are actually statistically the worst army on Torrent of Fire. Oh, I almost want to take them to Adepticon.
And for Super Ego, we had Necrons in our first one, the very beginning of our beta here, and it was quite terrible. But they did get crushed pretty hard. But we had some Necron love already, and we will get back to them in time. So maybe the next one we can do would be like a Necron Black Templar thing. That'll be post Adepticon. That'll be that Wednesday.
No, our Necron one was a
Was it
was a battle report.
Oh,
that was not a game cast. It was a battle report.
Oh, that is yet to come out.
Yes, that will be a special tidbit for you guys. You guys will get to see this week. For all of you who's not going to Adepticon, we will be releasing, I believe, Wednesday, a battle report between Rob Fortin playing Wraith Star Necrons and myself playing the Command Squad Space Marine Bikes, White Scars.
Get them grab bikes.
Yeah, with Space Wolf allies, of course. You know, Space Wolves, the best army in the game.
Okay, so it looks like all of Rob's reserves have come in. His bikes are all set. He recovered his bikes just there in the center, so they're good to go. But they're not going to get that jump to get on top of the relic. You can see he's spacing them out enough to be a threat in order to get it the next turn, but they're there right now, not doing much of anything.
So if you're Rob, what charge do you look for here? Obviously, I think you're gonna go down to the corner there. You're gonna try to go after the jet bikes. Do you try the triple charge and get both wave serpents and jet bikes, or is that just greedy?
I don't know that he can make that charge. I don't know. His options are he's got this. I would try to hit the Wind Riders there at the bottom and the one wave serpent. It gives you the chance to push both of the other wave serpents out towards your Wraith Knights. So both Wraith Knights now have a unit to charge if they want to. You've killed 2 potential troop units in 1 turn. The wave serpent, the warp spiders are still going to be able to do some damage anyway. So he's really, I think if he goes there, he can divide and conquer Jesse's army.
I mean, I think the only way you can try to do it is if he takes maybe one of those Chimera and runs it down into the right and runs it to the right side past that. And if he bottles up all of his units right here in front of the Wind Rider jet bikes and the one wave serpent and runs a guy to the far side and makes his primary like the jet bikes and tails someone back here, if he gets a low enough roll, he might be able to do it.
But he probably would not end up doing enough damage to take down either serpent.
Well, that is true.
You really want to make sure that you can still accomplish your goal.
And we have to remember, both serpents did move, and Rob does not have prescience. He never got that psychic power, so that's going to be an issue for him.
Okay. And Rob's swooping hawks that are coming back down are clumping up in the corner here behind the Wraith Knight and with a lot of retaliatory Wind Rider jet bikes in case he tries to get some some comeback. Also
Um,
in a position to drop those warriors.
For 2 more, primarily 1850. You also see a lot of 2,000 point tournaments, but 1850 and 2,000 are really the played tournament sizes.
Here in America, anyway.
Yeah, there's the occasional 1,500 points. But pretty rare. It's 1850 and 2K. And at the start of the edition, it was very heavily 2K. And something that's interesting is, as per the rulebook, if you're playing at 2,000 points, you're allowed a second forced organization chart. Your forced org chart dictates how many of each type of unit you can take. So when you're playing at 2,000 as per the rulebook, you're allowed double forced org chart, even though no tournament really allows double forced org.
Right. The move ended up becoming 1999 plus what?
Yeah, of course, just kind of like that little skirt move around the 2000. But most things are kind of moving to 1850. Adepticon and Nova Open tend to kind of set the standard. And when both of them kind of shrunk back a little bit, I think everyone kind of fell in suit.
Sure.
So like we've been saying, Adepticon is this Thursday, and it's through the weekend. The next one after that is the 12th and 13th of April, is the Delaware Open, taking place in Newark, Delaware. It's a qualifier for No Open. You guys should tune in. It's at Saturday, April 12th and Sunday, April 13th. We will actually be there, Team Stomping Grounds. We'll have a bunch of guys playing. I think we have 5-6 guys playing in the event.
Yep.
But also, you will have some people in the booth. We're going to bring all of our equipment down. We're going to be game casting throughout the course of the weekend. We're going to be in and out, doing some interviews, checking out the TO. I know some of the Delaware guys were in, the Ice House guys were in the chat earlier, popping in. This is one of their open gaming nights, so I'm sure they're all battling away. The guys are getting ready for Adepticon, getting those last couple test games in.
Yep. So we'll have some guys there doing some commentary for you if you want to check that out. There are also 4 spots left, I believe. So if you're in the Delaware area, we're coming from Philly, so come on in there and try it out.
You guys can stop in, wave, say hi, make fun of Jesse like we all do. So always good opportunities, good times.
Yes, sir.
You're playing in that event, correct?
I am playing in that event.
Any insight as to what list you might be playing?
I'm not sure. It depends on what I can get built in time. It may include some of the models currently on the table.
That's code for I'm not telling you because I want to win.
That's right. I know all you Ice House guys are watching this waiting to hear what's going on.
If you win, you'll get you get a ticket to the Nova Open, which is Labor Day weekend.
Plus an army, I believe.
Ooh.
A full-on army. I think he said, I'm not sure if it was 2,000 or 4,000 points worth of an army that he was not going to reveal which one it was, but second place was half of the previous. So there's a lot of points on the line, a lot of models, lots of free stuff.
And I'm broadcasting. I might go play.
Yeah.
Screw this broadcasting thing. I want to win. Oh, a bit far from Germany. Yes, you're right. Germany and Newark, Delaware. I'm sure I can Google here and figure out exactly how many miles that is. But yes, certainly not a weekend trip. But Delaware's got to be great this time of year. Not really. A lot of rain. Still a little miserable. Well, we appreciate you tuning in from Germany.
Yeah. You're welcome from across the ocean. All right, so he has still yet to decide what to do with the Beast Pack. He's dedicated the Warp Spiders to those 3 Wind Riders. I don't know that that's so necessary. I think he could have used them to try to go after a Wave Serpent, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Stomping Grounds Far East, we'll call it.
Okay, so Eldrad is moving around the difficult terrain in order to keep it separated there. It looks like he's simply going for the 1. I'm not sure that this is the best choice in the world. See what he's doing is here. He's allowing Newton, he's allowing Jesse to spindle out to the right, to the left side of the table here. If he can move both of whatever survives up to the left, get council support, and again, it looks like it could be going to that yin yang effect again. He can spindle out and go for the base race. Obviously, Rob has the advantage in that base race currently, but you know he's pretty much he's a step ahead. He's got all of his guys surrounding the Wave Serpents, all of Jesse's troops, and Jesse is far away from all the red Wind Riders across the table. Plus, Rob also has Wraith Knight support still left over. And if anybody's counting, I'm on the Wraith Knight side of the supporting characters, the supporting units for this particular set of armies, and that is the one that is currently doing better. So points to Wraith Knights over Wave Serpents for all of you out there that disagree.
Certainly. And to clarify a little bit more, two more. ETC is the European Team Championship.
That's right.
Even though it's not strictly European, obviously the U.S. sends a team.
Held in Europe.
It is held in Europe, yes. From our last Gamecast, Justin Cook is a member of Team ETC America. Another member of our team, Andrew Gagno, is a member of Team ETC America and going to be the captain of Team ETC America next year. So, yeah, there is definitely a strong international following, and it's always great to see a nice international tournament, some international camaraderie. So, yeah.
And we had Nick Nanavati, who was also on Team America, in a game cast just a couple days ago. So if you want to check that out, that's on our YouTube page. It is game 2 of the tournament. All right.
Yeah, you got two.
Yeah, Cage, you're right. No, I think either way that Jesse kind of falls here after this, whatever way he breaks, he's heading towards a Wraith Knight, which I think is kind of Rob's board. Rob's going to make the that table shrink really fast with those Wraith Knights, and that's what Wraith Knights do. You know, they're large enough. You can see a little shot of the inside of Stomping Grounds there. Oh, that's a scary shot, Jesse, though. No, this is not actually an earthquake. There are no earthquakes in Pennsylvania. Well, I'm sure there was at some point, but I don't know what's happening. We're everywhere. We're gonna see what this charge is gonna look like. Matt's being aggressive with this camera, so.
All right, let's see if we can get a better shot there. How's that look?
Oh, we just gonna see a lot of you, but it doesn't look bad.
What's that?
So we get to see a lot of you. A lot of the inside of the store.
There we go.
Matt DeFranza does everything. He's in the booth. He's making the layouts for the thing, and he's running around moving the camera.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Get things done. Yeah, Timur, there's a lot of stuff going on, man. There's it's been around for a good long time now, and I think the most attended tournaments in the world are Nova and Adepticon. They have 256 players each. One is held in Chicago, the other one is held in Virginia, but probably the most prestigious, the most talked about or bragged about, and the one with the hardest competition is the ETC. Each country gets a team of their best players to go and represent them, sort of like an Olympics for 40k, and that's kind of for bragging rights internationally for the year.
Sadly enough to say, the U.S. has not won. Maybe this year.
Not yet.
You know what it is? They just haven't had any team members or any members of Team SG
That's
on
right.
there yet. So now we got 2. So
That should do it.
yeah. So we're calling our shot now. Team ETC America.
Pulling a Babe Ruth.
Yeah, right. We're only like 4 months away. It's good. We can call this. Pretty sure we can call it in the bag. Thanks everyone else for all their countries who are coming out. On behalf of Team ETC America.
Americans are not known for their humility.
Not at all.
Bold till the end. All right. So getting back in the game here, we have that Rob has his Warp Spiders shooting at the Wind Rider jet bikes and has only knocked off one. If they end up failing a leadership check, they'll break off the table and that won't matter, but he is going to try for a charge there. His Wraith Knight just shot into a tank and is doing some damage to it. Let's see what kind of stuff happens to it. So it looks like nothing happened to it there, and now his other Wraith Knight is shooting out into the other side, hitting that back corner way circle. You get the intersecting dice here, touching tips a little bit.
Woohoo! This isn't that kind of broadcast. Don't give people the wrong ideas.
What countries usually do well? I know Germany actually does quite well. Sweden does pretty well, from what I understand.
Sweden always does well.
You know,
Very, very neutral. Gives you some advantage.
I do have to say, I'm for my ethnicity, I am largely Italian, but there is a little bit of Swedish.
Yeah, and the Team Sweden guys actually they travel a lot too. You'll
They
see
do.
them almost every year at Nova in Virginia. We'll see them out at Adepticon.
Yep.
So they
Nice guys.
yeah, and they really make their way around. They love their game. So a big thing that the Team US always likes to kind of hang their hat on as kind of an excuse is that you know, a lot of the European teams play with each other weekly. All these guys in these teams are, you know, because European countries are small geographically, they're all,
Relatively.
you know, I guess relatively, they're all pretty much an hour, 2 hours away from each other, so they get to practice a lot more. You know, the Team ETC America is spread out from as far northeast as Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There's guys in Chicago, Ohio. I mean, they're a little bit everywhere.
Yeah. Kind of hard to get together on a casual weekend.
Yeah.
All right, so Rob was able to just drop another Wave Serpent. The guys came out, and it doesn't look like they're pinned, but they did jump in the way of Jesse or of Rob's warp spiders. I'm having a hard time today. So yeah, those warp spiders are they have Dire Avengers in the way now. They can't quite get in there. And let's see, we have, what is it, Badak? England won 2 years ago. That is true. England does do pretty well too.
That is true. How ETC works is you have 8 players in your team. And what's going to happen is 2 captains meet at the start of the round, and they roll off to see who pushes a team up first. So whoever loses the die roll then takes one of their 8 lists and puts it out in front. Then the other captain gets to choose a matchup to play, and then you rotate doing that, so then the other captain will get to go first. So it definitely creates a different kind of building list. Like, I know a lot of people talk about it as like some people are attackers, some people are defenders. Some lists are designed to just get pushed up, and then obviously whoever wins the match is based on your combined points of everyone who plays. So you'll see some people will build lists for the sole purpose of not losing big. There'll be a list that's tanky, won't lose a lot. They'll just get thrown up there and go at it. But yeah, it's definitely a format that's not really played here. In the U.S., we mostly do singles. There aren't really a lot of team tournaments, especially not on big scale. So yeah, it's definitely a different thing for here in the U.S.
And yeah, the countries are fairly small. 1 hour is let's see, not even a trip from where I am to the Jersey Shore. So it's yeah, if that's how much it takes to cross the country, it's pretty short comparatively.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been to Europe. I've never driven to Europe. I don't know how long it takes. I know we're driving 14 hours starting tomorrow morning, straight through to Wednesday morning to get to Chicago.
Yeah, which would be one player from our team to get over to the one player from Chicago
to go test. Yeah, but we're driving. I think like 12 guys from our store.
Sure. So if it takes you 14 hours to get from one side of England to the other, you can let us know. Alright, so thumping and doing some damage against the vehicle. Baron should pop it earlier enough by himself.
Incorrect. Oh, it's a wreck. It doesn't explode. Yeah.
Okay. So since it's a wreck, if he has a complete surround, let's go ahead and back out and see if we can see. It looks like he has a complete surround, in which case all the Dire Avengers will die, because it did not explode, it just wrecked. So as they disembark first, they have no place to go. They can't emergency disembark because it's completely surrounded. So those Dire Avengers are gone. He lost the Wave Serpent and the troops. Okay, and now we're starting the beginning of top of turn 4. And Jesse Newton is bringing down his Hawks again. Okay, so see, here's the difference too, is that if Rob had charged in the beginning, in the middle there, he would have been able to take down both sets of those units there. He would have taken the Wind Riders down, he would have taken the Wave Serpent down, and those Dire Avengers in the corner. So he traded which set he's got for now. I don't know. It ended up working out for him because he was able to blow up that Wave Serpent. But if he wasn't, that would have been alive. He could have spun out. So he got saved by his Wraith Knights. Points again to Wraith Knights.
You had some really nice Wraith Knights too, right? And then Jesse tried to make short work of them. So.
Yeah, the fellow playing on the table now, which is why he's not borrowing them.
Okay, so guys off. Fortune. I will burn my reroll soon.
Well,
Guys off.
Huh?
Seal. No, I've lost one. I had 3 interceptions. Yeah.
and it looks like Jesse lost or did not pass Fortune. So that could make it interesting. Could make it a little bit more of a defensive type of turn for him, which obviously he'd be loving to get the offensive turn here. So while Jesse does some moving, in the booth with me right now is Mr. Justin Cook, who is our member of Team ETC America, who's with us today. So, Justin, besides getting ready, the reason we bring it up so much is we've got a lot of guys tuning in internationally.
Yeah, so
So, ETC, what does it mean to you? Along with, besides obviously it's a great tournament, you're representing a country, what does it mean to you in aspects of what it brings to Warhammer and 40k and the competitive scene?
Well, me personally as a player, it's definitely one of the things to cross off the bucket list. Obviously, like winning a major tournament like Nova or Adepticon is a big deal, and making ETC team is along that lines, really big deal for me. I think in general for the 40k scene, it's a really positive international collaboration. It requires a lot of people, not just a lot of teams. Like you think it's a lot of teams, it's a lot of people, a lot of individuals that have to communicate to get the formats finalized. I hear a lot about the captains talk over formats, rulings, FAQ, everything like that, and that all goes in. There's months of planning that goes into us having this tournament. That sum it up, it's like 4 or 5 day tournament, but it takes months of planning. They put out the bids for the countries to have it in. They did that like a month or two after the tournament, the tournament last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally runs almost year round, that they have to set this tournament up.
And where are you guys going to be playing this year?
We're in Novi Sad, Serbia, which is where it was last year. There was a lot of interest. There was a lot of bids out there for Greece and Spain, and I know there was one. I think there was one for Poland and France initially. And they decided on Serbia because France, I think France was going to do it, and there were some, logistics issues because, you're running a huge event like this, and, if you run out of time or you don't have, like, the right connections, it can be really tough, so...
So here's a good question coming in. How are you guys preparing for ETC? I mean, obviously it's a little bit different. You guys are a little more spread out than a lot of the countries. How are you guys preparing? Obviously, don't give us any insider information. We don't want to give any edge to you guys.
We drink a lot. That's a major thing. We do have our ringers for the drinking, which is Nick and Alan. They're the ringers. And Brad's very good at that. And then we have the brains of the operation, which is myself and Andrew and Ben Moley and Greg Sparks. We're gonna do all the thinking and just push him in the right.
The brains and the brawn.
And then we have Tony Kopak, who's the young pretty boy who stands there. He's the face of the team. So
that's what we're preparing. We're all about image. As Matt said, U.S. always known for how humble we are about everything we do.
Yeah.
So,
of course.
How do we get ready? We drink. We strategize. A little strategize.
Yeah, high fluting strategy with army men.
Yeah, then we get our pretty boy image going on. So I like it. That's solid strategy.
Yeah.
Solid strategy. Okay, so real quick, let's flip back. I know they got a lot going on. Let's see.
This looks pretty rough, actually, for Jesse.
It really does. I mean, and Jesse not getting fortune off this turn, I think, really is going to make this a difficult offensive turn. I know he was set up in a good position to, I guess, try to go after a combination of the Wraith Knight and that jet bike unit in the top center there, but I think it's really going to force him to move around a little bit more and maybe reconsider it. It looks like he's just going for it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it in the end game, I know from the initial setup, it looked like Rob had kind of made a fatal error deploying out in the open like that with his Beast Pack, and kind of just bum rushing Jesse. But it's kind of worked out for him, because if you think about it, when you have two essentially unkillable Death Star units, if they both are going to stay alive till the end of the game, which at this point it's definitely looking like they're both going to stay alive till the end of the game. They've kind of past each other at this point, and they're in each other's deployment zones.
No, I wasn't measuring.
It really comes down to how good you do at eliminating everything that isn't a Death Star. And Rob's done a really good job of that, and Jesse has done barely anything to counter it.
Yeah, I mean, we do know that Jesse did the advantage in troops. Jesse had 7 to Rob's 6. Although in theory, Rob's are a little more mobile. He has the jet bikes. Obviously, the Dire Avengers inside the Wave Serpent's very mobile. But you know, as we see, Wave Serpent gets wrecked. Dire Avengers are on foot, and they don't move fast on
Yeah,
foot.
and I think Jesse's kind of getting to the point where he doesn't have an effective counter to the Wraith Knights. He can't really do anything to stop them, and they've just slowly been picking off. Like they've picked off 2 Wave Serpents now.
Yeah.
And you know that got him first blood. It's killed half of the transports in the game. Yeah. Jesse's down to 1 Wave Serpent, and that's it for his mobile scoring. Really, I mean, he has that and a unit of jet bikes left. It looks like
He's got 2 left.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things we had asked about Rob. Primarily the Beast Packs aren't really running the wave or the Wraith Knights, and Rob felt that the Wraith Knights really helped hedge his bets in certain matchups, primarily those vehicle matchups, whereas the Beast Star isn't quite as consistent for taking out vehicles as say like the Seer Council is.
Yeah.
So obviously here it's kind of paid off for him, but who knows how much that really is the case. So
the Wraith Knights can be really hard to counter too, because and I know the captain of ETC England actually, I think Josh Roberts is his name. He runs them, and he runs them in Beast Pack. This is almost identical to his list, and his list has been cleaning up UK tournaments in the past 6 months. It's been doing very well, and you know, if you run into an army that can't deal with Wraith Knights, like Jesse's army isn't really that well equipped to deal with Wraith Knights, and you have that Beast Pack just running down somebody's throat, I mean, you just overwhelm them with threats really quickly, only with 3 units, and you know, kill them. And even against a strong army like Seer Council, you can get in this situation where, you know, Rob's eliminating Jesse's ability to score objectives while keeping his own objectives alive, and there's barely anything Jesse can do about it just because he's running out of threats to deal with all of these troops in the backfield over on the top right corner here.
Now, the real question is, I mean, one of the things I talked about with Rob before when he was talking about his list is how those Wraith Knights kind of compare to grav weapons. I mean, I was originally playing the grav bikes. One of the big things that came up between me and Rob is that as a grav player, you really can't go after the actual Beast Pack because majority armor save is nothing. So you're wounding on 6s. If you're running grav bikes, you don't have the grav amps. You're not re-rolling at least. So all that does is give us viable targets to go after. Now with proper deployment, he can kind of castle those 2 Wraith Knights in the back, line up everyone else in front of it, and pretty much say, sure, if you want to come out and make some shots, I'm going to get the perfect counter assault off. But the problem is, especially against the bike unit, if you have a bike unit that can get some defense up, they don't really, you know, the Beast Pack doesn't really do a ton of wounds. So you don't necessarily mind running up, sacrificing a little bit, trying to get the Wraith Knight. So it's really kind of that give and take where the Wraith Knights are really that good. But no, I mean, they seem to be doing their job. They have been hunting these vehicles well, which is one of the things he said he wanted to do. So,
yep. They are formidable, especially in this Eldar versus Eldar matchup, because you think about it, Eldar shooting is kind of built to rend things down and kill it because they have the Blade Storm rule, but not a lot of people take a lot of volume of that. You know, there's not a lot of Dire Avengers on this table. There's comparatively not a lot of jet bikes, so the amount of Blade Storm that he could actually bring to bear on a Wraith Knight is fairly low. Tal does a fairly good job. I mean, I know my Ovessa Star army does a really good job of cleaning up Wraith Knights. Just Riptides with all the buffs from a buff commander, like a pair of them together, can pretty much just drop a Wraith Knight a turn, no problem. Now, that might not seem that good because it's a 900-point unit shooting a 240-point unit, but when you're pretty much guaranteed to kill it, you know, that's... You know, I'll take that. I'll take that any day. And Marine Grav armies, Grav bikes, Centurions. You they can just look at a Wraith Knight and it dies. So it's kind of a shift, right? Like it's the kind of the rock paper scissors where you have that rock of the Wraith Knight, and it it breaks the scissors of other Eldar armies, but it also it loses to the paper of really nasty Grav and Tau lists.
Definitely.
Yep.
So answer a couple questions. Two more. The website link, Torn of Fire. They are probably the best place to go. It's primarily the U.S. meta. It's from any tournament that reports. But yeah, you can take a look at armies, how they perform, how they do even in certain matchups, which is really neat. And Cage, yeah, I mean, definitely the Ovesta Star is kind of the common Tau list now. To point something out about the Ovesta Star, the two people who had the most success for it were at Nova. It first reared its ugly head at Nova Open 2013 and Nova Invitational 2013. I'm having a hard time remembering, but I believe Open final table was Jesse Newton, and conveniently enough, the Invitational.
No. The Open was me.
Oh, sorry, sorry. The Open final table was it was Justin
this
Cook,
guy
who is sitting next to me right now, and the Invitational final table with the list was Jesse Newton.
Yep.
So I guess in some respects, if you are at your local store and somebody brings you a Vestar and beats you, you can blame Jesse and Justin.
Yeah.
So shout out and yell at them.
I gotta say, though, earlier this year there was a tournament over in England, and they published all the lists, and there's 120 players, and there was something like 15 or 20 Ovesta Stars in it, and none of them finished higher than like 25th in the standings. Like it kind of did not bode well for that army setup. That you have to have some skills to play that list because it's a lot of bookkeeping. It's a surprising amount of bookkeeping. It's not as much as like a Seer Council, but you have to keep your Nova charges in check. You have to Nova charge the right thing at the right time. You have to call the right thing on your Pure Tide chip at the right time. Your order of shooting is incredibly critical. Like last week, I played John. If I had done my order of shooting a little bit differently on turn 6, I could have easily won that game instead of getting a draw. So, things like that. There's a lot of unseen bookkeeping to do with Tau, and especially the Ovesta Star.
Because it's Jake. So, do a 3 plus for Shroud, do a 2 plus for Spell. Alright, distance?
Wave Serpents outrange. I'm reading Badak. I'm guessing. I'm reading in chat. Yes, Wave Serpents outrange Tau, most of Tau's shooting. Skyrays and like the Ovesta Star obviously keep talking about that. But Skyrays and Ion Tides are really it for competing with Wave Serpent shooting. So things that are on the ground like broadsides and suits and everything. Wave Serpents are kind of a nightmare for Tau in that respect. So I totally agree with that. 60-inch range, nothing to joke about.
Man, Jesse's trying to break the Franz Wraith Knight again.
He's trying to kill it.
So as we see here, here's that kind of double charge we talked about. It's Jesse's finally trying to do what Justin has accused him of and not do anything, and he's trying to do something. He's trying to get in here. He's trying to get that Wraith Knight, trying to get the 2-man jet bike unit. The problem is that while he's off chasing a 2-man jet bike unit, Rob is just sitting pretty with 4 jet bike units sitting there at the top. And what people don't realize is, Jesse knows that he's played enough times against these type of things, but all that's going to happen is right now, as I see it, if the game would end on 5, Rob's going to jump a unit out to the objective right near him, a unit out to the objective that's being fearlessly guarded by that Wraith Knight in the bottom right corner, and he's just going to, and he's already in some kind of contesting on the bottom left, and worst case scenario on either of the left ones, he just jumps a unit over there and contests.
Yeah. And it looks like these Hawks are about to get killed. Jesse's Hawks that just came in, they're probably dead next turn because they're going to get shot by 4 units of Eldar jet bikes.
True. I definitely don't see a good spot here for Jesse.
No, me either. Yep, that's fine. I think that I actually think it was kind of a misplay to multi-charge like he did into both the jet bikes in the middle of the table and the Beast Star. If he would have just brought his full weight to bear on the Beast Star for a turn, he killed 3 guys and he only had like half the unit fighting. And if in a multi-assault you actually lose an attack because it's a disordered charge. So if he would have had basically 4 times the amount of attacks going in there, think of how many more wounds he would have actually been able to cause onto the Beast Star.
And I think the biggest thing is that Jesse's fear at that point is that what's going to happen if he doesn't go after the rates or the unit in the middle is Rob's going to simply grab the relic and that's going to be it.
Rob put him in a really tough position there. I feel like Jesse kind of went after the warp spiders a little bit in vain, the way that the warp spiders are doing right now. I think he should have just focused in and killed those 3 jet bikes in the middle of the table, just to eliminate that threat, not take the bait like he did, and then Rob wouldn't be kind of, dominating his backfield right now.
And in bad news, Jesse looks like didn't have or had too much movement and wasn't able to actually get the multi-assault off. And that's huge. I mean,
he didn't physically make it into the...
His movement was a little off on it. If he had moved closer to the Wraith Knight and spread it out and charged the jet bikes as primary, he might have been able to pull it off.
Yeah.
But he chose the Wraith Knight primary and didn't move. His closest guy to the jet bikes was an inch away.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up having the whole thing consolidate towards the other direction. He didn't have enough space to get all the way over.
Yeah.
So as if Matt DeFranza's vision is always 20/20 in hindsight. The first thing he said about multi-assaults was multi-assault is all about your movement. That's what determines the multi-assault. He said it 2 turns ago, about an hour ago at this point, and boy, every once in a while, Matt just keeps winding up being right. I don't understand why, but
he doesn't have like a 90% tournament win rate for no reason.
It was the theme of last week. Matt's like, this is going to come up and be relevant. I'm like, okay, sure, Matt. And needless to say, it came up and was relevant. So, Jesse's boy, he's in a little bit of a pickle here. And the problem is he's not looking great on time. 32 minutes left.
Yeah, he's kind of running out.
And for any of you guys who don't know at home, what happens is in tournaments, when we run out of time, they're not doing hard dice down. Hard dice down implies that when the clock runs out, you just stop playing. Whatever it is, you're done. So what they're instead going to do is when the time runs out, whoever's turn it is will finish that turn. Then if it's the top of turn, whoever is the bottom of turn will get to play out their bottom of turn as well. Yeah. So no one ever gets shorted an actual turn of active.
So it might be a 2 hour and 45 minute or 2 hour and 30 minute round, but you'll physically get maybe the full 3 hours to play depending on when you start your final round and how long it takes for everything.
It's top 4. It's the top of 4 now, so with 31 minutes left, I mean, there's a solid chance that the game is going to
end on 5.
It's going to, it could even, if they have a long turn here, the combat. I mean, I guess they really don't. They're already in combat, but it's going to get to Rob's bottom of 4.
They should get through 4, or they should get through 4 and 5. But that's probably going to be it. These armies are kind of notorious because they have so much bookkeeping going on with psychic abilities and everything and decision making. They kind of eat the clock like really fast. You just run out of time to play these armies. Like 3 hours would probably be what you would need to get through a 7-turn game.
And this is definitely always a kind of a thing that it's always kind of not bothered me, but always kind of been a cause of concern with the competitive Warhammer scene. So I come from a Magic background. I've had a reasonable amount of success with Magic, things like that, some PTU top 8s, some higher end games, tournaments, wins, stuff like that. So for me, whenever I've had a we're going to take a quick shot here now. But for me, it's always been the type of thing where if we ever have a time issue, or you ever feel your opponent's playing slow, things like that, you can always call a judge, have a judge come over, the judge will put pressure on your opponent because penalties and things like that do move from round to round, and you can get a little bit of pressure putting your opponent the judge can make your opponent go faster. That's really not the case with Warhammer, and not to say that it's more because it has more of that casual laid-back atmosphere, and I know that you definitely get some players who just naturally play slower, and if they naturally play a little slower, it causes some problems at times. I mean, so Justin, as a heavily competitive player, how do you feel about that and time and things like that?
It's top 5 now.
It's bottom of 4.
Oh, it's bottom 4.
Yeah. So how do you feel about kind of the time limits and how those things kind of go?
Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to, especially this edition, but even as early as 5th edition, because I've been playing for about 7-8 years now. and basically the entire time that I've been playing competitive 40k. I went to my first GT in 2007, and that was about 3 months after I started playing 40k just in general. So I've been playing competitively the entire time. I've gotten to know basically everybody on the tournament scene. And I think everybody has a sense, like, among the players that have been playing for a long time, has a sense of, we're watching the clock, we're making sure that we're getting the game done in an amicable amount of time. This edition kind of threw everybody for a loop because everything seems to take longer. There's longer wound resolutions, there's longer psychic phases, shooting phases are longer, there's Overwatch now, there's intercepting, there's a lot of extra added working parts into this this game now, and it can be really tough to follow along and keep track of everything and still make sure the game ends when it's supposed to end and not get cut short. Because right now we're looking at, if they would roll a dice and the game would keep going, which 2/3 of the time the game will keep going, that the game might get cut short because they're going to run out of time. And even good players, these guys have been playing, this entire edition really competitively, and they've been playing really high level 40k. To keep track of it, it can be really tough for people.
I mean, everybody look at, and you'll see Rob doing right now, the pre-measuring is really a thing that lags things down, because now it's, in every other edition you haven't allowed to pre-measure. It's been cheating in every other edition. So Games Workshop has in this edition said, go ahead and cheat, we're fine with it. So if they're going to let you cheat, you might as well
do it.
Yeah, and you'll see, like, Rob's measuring every move, he's making all of his plans, and that really causes
it's
game
like
to slow down.
It's like a 1 second thing per model. If you think about it, maybe take 3 to 5 seconds to pre-measure something. But if you do that for every unit and you have 10 units on the table, that's 30 seconds. And you multiply that by 3 phases and 5 game turns, all of a sudden you're adding 10, 15 extra minutes into the game. Yeah, it's unavoidable. People are just going to do that on top of all the other mechanical aspects of the game that have been added.
Well, on top of that, we always joke around that movement is so crucial in this game now, because you can pre-measure things like that. And we always joke around that Tau gets to move in every phase.
Yeah.
Tau gets to move in the movement phase, conveniently enough. They get to move in the shooting phase. Like, they get to, they're moving in combat and assault phase. Because Tau gets to do so much moving, and Tau's such a big thing still, it slows it down. So it's definitely creates for a more interesting and frankly kind of a slower tournament scene. But I do know personally, for me, I tend to be a pretty quick player, for better or worse. I know I've definitely blown through some plays and made some mistakes and kind of hurt myself.
Yep.
But in the same sense, I am normally very vigilant to getting on my opponents.
Yeah, it totally happens too. I made a mistake last week when I was playing John, where I tried to kill 3 monstrous creatures and where I should have only really been trying to kill 2. And that was just because it was the end of the game, and I was like, well, I should be able to really kill these 3 guys, and I only managed to kill 1 of them and leave both the other ones with like a wound or 2 left. Where I should have just been like, okay, well, I really need to kill these 2 models. Let me just kill those 2 and win the game. And that kind of stuff can happen. It's something where, even the best players are going to make mistakes. It's almost unavoidable. So,
the big thing to point out with that, Batrep, if you add game time, you're already talking 2.5 hour rounds. So the assumption is that, so I'm a TIA. We do a grand tournament, Philadelphia Open. You've got a 2.5 hour round to begin with. Then you've got probably 30 minutes of extra time. So you're looking 3 hours. So if you play a 3 hour round, you're looking 30 minutes extra because something's going to go over. Then, players kind of expect a break between. So now you're already talking 4 hours. Well, if you're starting at 9 o'clock in the morning and you have 3 rounds in a day at 4 hours, you're not talking 9 p.m. You have a lunch break at 10 p.m. And then you have to start the next day at the same thing. Now, personally, me, again, as my background as a Magic player, I'm used to playing as many rounds as they tell me I'm going to play in a day. I can show up at tournament 8 o'clock in the morning and be playing until 2 o'clock in the morning. The nice thing is it's not 2 days. The 2-day tournaments are all done normally at a reasonable time. But it definitely, the biggest thing is that it really kind of hurts. It hurts the players a lot when you add 3 rounds. I personally agree. I like 3 rounds. I like games going to a natural ending.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you try to squeeze too many rounds a day, and then there are tournaments like Adepticon, for example, on Thursday for Adepticon, we're playing 4 rounds the first day.
Yeah.
So imagine if those were 3 hours. That's
It's already
4
going to be
rounds.
it's already going to be a 12 to 14 hour day. If you made it 3 hours, it'd be a 16-hour day.
Yeah.
And some players literally would not do that. They would just bow out at that point and say, "I'm not going to play in this tournament." It's really hard to manage around that because Adepticon is a convention that has multiple events. They have the 40k team tournament, which is equally as important to them as the singles championship. And they also have like a ton of fantasy events, a ton of War Machine Hordes events. They have gaming events all weekend, multiple gaming events all weekend. So it's really hard to validate to not only players, but the people that are coming up with the logistics to increase that round time. Now I know Europe does 4-hour rounds for basically everything. All their GTs run on 4-hour rounds. They probably have less games. I don't really know what Europe's like game format, like how many games they play is, but I know that they play 4-hour rounds, and ETC is 4-hour rounds, and that's because they want people to get through the full 7 turns, and it's just been a thing in the U.S. Tournament organizers have slowly been adding time. I know Adepticon. I think Adepticon increased time this year. I know Nova is increasing time, right? I think Nova's
Battle for Salvation went to 3 hours. They were the first ones to jump that far.
Yeah, I think all of the tournaments are slowly adding time onto it. The other thing people were talking about is decreasing points. Nobody really liked the idea of decreasing points. Everyone wants to play their 1850. And 1850 has just been a random arbitrary number that everybody's used kind of forever. It's where lists kind of round out and you don't just have a Death Star and that's it. Or you don't just have like 5 units on the table and that's it if you're playing like a Marine list or something like that.
I'd kind of like to see 1500 as a very standard tournament.
It's not bad. I think I kind of want to write a Torn of Fire article about it, but
hey, so everyone watching, if you guys look at our screen, we're at 99 followers. If someone would like to be that special number 100, our hearts would go out to you, as the heart means you're following. So if we get that special number 100.
Help us with that support, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. We appreciate all the support that we've been getting so far, too. It's been absolutely fantastic.
So real quick, just to catch you guys up, like we pointed out, those Swooping Hawks came down in the corner there. They didn't really do much, and then those jet bikes did very short work of them.
Yeah.
Now Rob is making his little moves around. His Swooping Hawks are here. He's measuring. So what he's measuring here is he's measuring for setting up for his turbo boost for the fall, or he's turbo
Also
boosting
looks like Rob grabbed the relic too.
Yeah, he already has the relic. That unit in the middle, and the unit in the middle that is being well protected by that giant yellow Wraith Knight.
Yeah.
And that is number 100.
Nice.
Thank you, B-Dad. Or B-Bad.
B-Dad. He actually went out of the way to pronounce it in chat for us, and he's like, nope.
Matt Devon is trying to figure it out and say it still.
and now we're making fun of him. So one of the things that Badak just mentioned was adding a time control to the game, trying to control how long players take their turns. A lot of things got thrown around like chess clocks and everything. One of the hard things about 40k with chess clocks is it's really hard to say, okay, I'm doing this action and you're doing this action. Like, how do you cut off? Like, I'm rolling these dice now, you're rolling these dice now. I'm going to do this, you're going to do this. Like, so much player interaction between each player. It's not like I go, you go in chess where it's like I make a move, then you make a move. It's I roll dice, you roll dice. I make a decision, you make a decision to counter that decision. I roll dice, I make a decision, you counter with dice rolls. There's a lot of interaction that goes on. I mean, that's like one assault phase is like 20 decisions versus just 2 decisions to make a move in chess and make a counter move in chess. So
And it's interesting. There is also a competitive game called War Machine. It's a tabletop game that's actually originated here in the U.S. By company Privateer Press, and they're designed to be more of a tournament-based tabletop game. And they actually use chess clocks, and they have what's called death clock. Each player gets a certain amount of time. It's normally 45 minutes. But again, Justin hit the nail on the head. The difference is in War Machine, you're very rarely doing things on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
You really don't make dice rolls. A couple models have dice rolls in your turn, but normally you're just moving on your turn, and all you're doing on your opponent's turn is taking damage.
Yep.
Which definitely
there's no such thing
easier.
as saves. There's tough rolls, but that's different. And it's basically the same thing as Feel No Pain in 40k. So very few units have it. So in general, Matt's correct in saying that they don't have a lot of interaction between players. It's very I go, then you go, then I go, then you go. Or 40k is like I go, but then you're kind of going, and then I'm going to do something now. And yeah, there's just a lot going on in the game between the players all the time. But it's been thrown around. Maybe chess clocks will be a thing people try out at some point. I don't think it would be too bad. There is going to be a 1,500 point GT that's going to be put on out here in PA in May. One more turn. All right, they are going to call it after turn 5. So they'll get through this next turn, and that'll be it. And it's looking really good for Rob still. It still looks really solidly in his favor. I'm assuming all of these jet bike units on the right side of the table are his. So he should very easily be able to at least grab, at least contest all the objectives. I don't see him not contesting all the objectives.
The nice thing is with Adepticon, there are two primary win conditions in effect at the same time. It's the relic, which Rob has, and its objectives. If Jesse can't get the relic off Rob, I mean, Rob's got an easy time. Rob just hides the relic on his 5 and just goes and contests everything, and then he's good.
Yeah.
So to point out something with the kind of PGA mind timing, that's more how, as I said, how like Magic the Gathering works. If a player's moving slower, a judge can come over and enforce that. And in theory, that can happen to a Warhammer. The problem is, one, at an event, 256 player event, there's normally a handful of judges, single digit number of judges.
Yeah, there's not a lot of judges. I mean, it's something where if they had more staff for that kind of event, they could definitely do that.
Switch to camera 6 for a second. And we're going to shout out to Sweden.
No, we weren't killing them.
Nice.
If you guys shout out channel 6, or I guess we're on channel 6, there's a little shout to Sweden. We've got the our Eldar guy there with the flag. So
nice.
But yeah, it's definitely something. And the bigger problem also is Warhammer by nature is a casual game. The code or the rule book itself that Games Workshop puts out says it's a beer and pretzels game.
Yeah.
And it is designed to be played for fun.
They go out of their way to tell people that.
And then when people try to make it competitive, it makes it a little bit harder. So you get a lot of people go to tournaments. Now, what you're seeing here is, in theory, potentially the minority of people who go to tournaments. Most people who go to tournaments are there to have fun. They're there to play some guaranteed games, play them against the painted armies, have a good time. It's a great social community. Go out to like a Warhammer tournament, always a ton of fun. But the problem you run into is there are people who want to play competitively. So guys go out there for fun, and they're like, well, I don't want to be rushed. I want to take my time and play my game. And not saying that's a bad thing. I love this game. I play a lot of time for fun. At Adepticon, as soon as I get a loss under my belt, I will be walking around with a bottle of whiskey and having a real good time.
As will I.
But it's definitely a different mindset than kind of a hardcore tournament scene.
Yeah. It's also not as developed. I mean, even as Matt was saying, they make it abundantly clear that it's intended to be a casual game, very narrative game. So they've kind of gone out of their way to limit tournament support that they give. They actually don't run tournaments here in the States anymore. So we've kind of left it. So we've kind of left it to the independent circuits to run it, and guys like Mike Brandt and like Hank Headley, who runs Adepticon, and Reese Robbins, who runs not only Frontline Gaming, but he also runs the LVO and BAO out on the West Coast, and Chandler, who runs he runs what's it called? Feast of Blades out in Colorado. Those are the guys that are kind of leading the way for the tournament scene, and those guys, they put blood, sweat, and tears into these tournaments and everything to make them run, and they have to cater to everybody, so they can't just cater to the guys who want to go there and smash face with their Seer Council or Ovesta Star. They have to cater to the guys that literally just want to go and have fun the whole weekend. So it can be tough to get that median. Yeah. All right, I'm going to throw Matt back on, guys. It was nice chatting with you. This is Justin Cook. Have a good night, everybody.
And like we said, if you guys go to Adepticon, you can come on out there. Justin will be there along with myself, and we'll be out there having a good time. Stop in, say hi, let us know that you're watching. So always going to be fun. But yeah, to point out, you're right. Playing competitively and playing for fun are never mutually exclusive. I have a ton of fun playing, and I like to play competitively in the same mindset. At the end of the day, a good game is always better than than potentially a frustrating loss or a frustrating win. Even you never like to have a bad experience after playing an opponent. So,
All right, guys. I am back. This is Matt Frenza, and to close up here again real quick, we're going to the top of 5, but this has been Stomping Grounds Games and Hobbies, Team Stomping Grounds in particular, running a game cast. This is our third beta so far. So if you have any comments or anything, just post them on up. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Subscribe and all that. Any support you can give us would be great. We're just getting started here, trying to make this something that's worth it for the people that are watching. And as far as the game is going, we are doing an Adepticon preparation match. The primary of which is Relic and Objectives. The secondary is our First Blood, Warlord, and Linebreaker. You can see we have Rob Fortin versus Jesse Newton. Rob Fortin with the Beast Pack Eldar, supported by Wraith Knights. Jesse Newton with Seer Council Eldar, supported by Wave Serpents. So Rob has bottom of turn, Jesse has top of turn. We're going into the top of 5 right now, and it is Jesse's turn to make a move. Right now, Rob has the Relic with one of his little Wind Rider jet bikes there in the center of the table. He's moved it out, and he threw his Wraith Knight in front for some defense. And all of these Wave Serpents are also down, so there's no real long-range firepower that Jesse has to be able to dump in there. What he does have to do, he has the Council, and he is required at this point to dump the Council, all of its shots, into those 2 Wind Riders in order to put them down. That needs to happen. If he doesn't do that, he pretty much automatically loses.
I mean, the problem is he's still not in a great spot either, because even if he dumps all of his shots in that Council or into those 2 Wind Rider jet bikes, forces him to drop the Objective or the Relic, which is very possible. I don't know exactly how far, but Rob's 2 Wind Riders off to the right there look like they're in potential range to jump in. In the same time, Rob has easy access to both of the right objectives. Rob has easy access, already has that left objective, bottom left one contested. Rob has easy access to both the right ones. So even if Rob for some reason drops the Relic and loses it to shooting here, all Rob simply has to do is jump out on those 2 objectives and end the game anyway. I mean, I don't see a way personally that Jesse can pull this one out.
Yeah, there is actually a way that he can do it. Rob is too far away with those other Wind Riders on the right there to grab it. They're out of range. You can see when he measured it out, they won't be able to happen. If those 2 guys die, he can drop it 1 inch away, but it should still be too far for Rob to get in base contact with it. What Jesse's going to have to do is divide the Seer Council in order to have a chance here. He can claim 2 objectives. He has 2 squads of Wind Riders yet. He can try to claim both of the backfield objectives. The Council can go ahead and split up. He can shoot with most of the Council at those 2 Wind Riders, hoping to drop them. The other 2 can split up and try to contest both of the far corner objectives, the ones that are closest to the bottom here. So if he can contest 2, potentially claim 2, and or contest 2, and he can make Rob drop the Relic, he can at least get a minor loss, because it'll go down, and again, that First Blood will come around and give Rob the victory on secondaries. So he will win out, or he will tie out on objectives, he'll tie out on Relic, and it'll come down to secondaries, of which he will only have Linebreaker. He will not have First Blood or Warlord, but neither will Rob. So Rob will have First Blood and Linebreaker, and that will give him the win on secondaries. But Jesse will be able to pull out a minor loss in a game that has not been going his way for most of the time. That's the best I can see for him. I don't see any chance for him to get the win. He can't get Warlord. He can't deny Rob from getting Linebreaker. He doesn't have enough long-range firepower to do much of anything else. Unless that Serpent is still alive, which it looks like it may be. In which case he can try to shoot some other pieces. But even with that, minimally, I don't know what else he has for options here. He can claim both objectives on his side of the table for his best chance. but I don't know that there's anything that he can do to stop Rob from contesting on his turn.
I mean, not much. I mean, and we pointed out at the beginning of this, and both players in our pregame interview said the same thing. The huge upper hand goes to whoever gets first turn, or whoever gets second, bottom of turn. I apologize. So we talked about that before. Rob won the die roll and deferred to Jesse, gave Jesse top of turn, took bottom of turn. I mean, that's kind of been the theme of the game. That first blood 2 that Rob got really just made this an uphill battle for Jesse. And not necessarily saying that Jesse's played it poorly, but I think both players were kind of timid with their Death Stars. Both moved close. Jesse tried to assault and didn't. Rob had the opportunity to make a guaranteed assault and didn't, frankly.
Chose not to.
As Justin was in here saying that Justin really questioned Jesse's assault, or Rob's assault, I'm sorry, on the Wave Serpents in the bottom left of the screen, saying that he got a little aggressive and wound up kind of hurting himself a little bit. Jesse tried to make the assault on the Wraith Knight and the Windrider Jet Bikes and failed to do so on both. And that really cost Jesse a lot because that Jet Bike unit then went and got the Relic. So it's kind of a big difference from our last battle report. Last battle report had no close combat to speak of. This one's had close combat dictate, for the most part, the nature of how the game's played out.
Sure, yeah.
So just goes to show you, Warhammer, always throwing you curveballs.
I do want to point out, too, that getting back into the discussion of whether or not Wraith Knights with Wind Riders is better than Serpents with Die Avengers. And if this is any kind of a contest, this can tell you that the Wraith Knights, and at least in the mirror match, have a lot to say about it. It's because Rob has had more mobile Wind Rider units that he's been able to threaten and ultimately grab the Relic, and it's because of the Wraith Knights that he's been able to take down most of the opponents, most of Jesse's Wave Serpents, and that has been the difference in this game.
Well, and then the big idea, honestly, is that under the same sense is that, yeah, whereas the Wraith Knights are better in the mirror, the Wraith Knights really are at a disadvantage against an army like Tau, who can simply, especially Burst Tides. Burst Tides Nova Charge, a commander gives them ignore cover, and they rend and make short work of those Wraith Knights. So it's really give and take. It's what you think the meta is going to be. I know personally for me, I have made an army audible yesterday afternoon for what I'm playing at Adepticon, solely because I'm really afraid of armies that have Eldar as main. So, I think Eldar is an important army to worry about right now. I think it's a great matchup. This is a matchup you very easily could see at top tables. Adepticon, Eldar, and Eldar, different Death Stars.
So keynote here, Jesse is splitting off some of his units. You can see he's flying them out to try to contest. They keep the buffs that they use at the start of the turn after they split. So he can fortune, conceal, anything else that he'd like. And each one of the units that's leaving gets to keep that ability.
No, I think these Warlocks who are on the bottom of the screen are going to kind of be in a bad spot. So it looks like Jesse... It looks like Jesse's kind of ignoring that the guys in the middle who have the Relic.
I think he's banking on them being able to get shot down between that single jet bike there and the Wave Serpent.
Boy, that's who's the single one in the middle? Is that his?
That's one of his
other
two
Farseer?
That's one of his two Farseers. Yeah, he has one in the middle there and one in the bottom right.
The bottom right, I believe, is his Warlord one. So I mean, he's kind of hanging out a Farseer to try there. I guess kill points don't really matter, so who cares?
One thing it is important for, and if he goes to secondaries, he's lost anyway. But the Wraith Knight in the middle there will be able to walk up and punch the one that's there. Whereas the other guy is going to have a rerollable 2+ save against all of the firepower that's going his direction. So being in that far corner, even though he's surrounded by more units, he's probably safer there.
So this is interesting. So Jesse, he's contesting in the bottom right. And good chance he's not going to lose that. All that firepower, I don't think it's going to take him down. It doesn't look like he's carrying any wounds with him. He's got the top left objective, even though it's Eldar Jet Bikes. That top left objective could go away very quickly anyway.
Yep.
He, in theory, is the top right one, even though I could see that one going away quickly for him. So as of right now, you see that...
Yeah, he has 1 to nothing. Or 2 right now to nothing, but 1 will be contested.
No, I didn't roll, but it was only the front one I really cared about.
Ron, don't forget the buzzer when it goes off subtraction.
All right.
Only 4.5 minutes left in this game. So this will be the bottom. This will be the last turn. Turn 5 will be the final one.
Leadership. 8. Okay. 10. Two wounds. Nope, no cover.
Okay, so he uses Mind War, it looks like, or Shriek rather. Psychic Shriek in order to drop both of those. Good play.
All right, so the relics. Boy, you know it's oddly enough to say, but Jesse could make this. I mean, definitely what's going to look like going to be a loss or a minor loss just because of first blood, but.
It's interesting here because he's trying to block off that objective. He's trying to move what he can, where it can go, in order to keep that objective alive on his side. Interesting moves here. If he can pull this off such that it keeps it that way, he can win on primaries. He can win objectives, and the relic will be tied.
All right, we're moving down to bottom of turn 5, which, as we said, will be our final turn.
He may have made an interesting mistake here. If those warlocks that are down at the bottom of the table there, if they're actually not within 3 inches, it looks like they may be a little far. If they're not within 3 inches, then they will not be contesting it.
Let's see if our side view can get a better look at that. No, of course, it's just out of our sight there.
I'm going to have to go down there and check a look. I'll be right back.
All right. We're going to see our fantastical moving side view. Oh, there's the Franz's measuring tape getting in there.
Yeah, we already did that. I have more than enough room to just ensure that they're all within.
So it looks like they both players have agreed that he had enough room to make the move in there, and he's going to move in and contest that. So, I mean, it's got the contester, but I mean, even at that point, so if Jesse can keep the top left objective, if Jesse can somehow hold on, deny that bottom left objective, if he's going to deny the bottom right, and he has to deny top right, which I don't see happening. The objectives are in the corner, and the problem is it doesn't look to me like there's 3 jet bikes in the top, the 3 yellow and blue jet bikes in the top right corner that are Jesse's are close enough to contest. I can't really tell where the objective is. It looks like it's directly under that one. Oh, sorry, they currently have it and they're being contested. Problem is, all he has those 3 jet bikes. I'm surprised, and I don't know about what your opinion is. I'm surprised he didn't take that other Farseer and turbo boost that Farseer. Oh, that is not our buzzer for
That's magic.
Warhammer. That's a magic buzzer. I'm sitting here at a buzzer go off, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I asked for the magic turbo going on. It's interesting that Jesse didn't turbo boost that Farseer in the top over to that objective to give extra denial. Because if you think about it, in theory, if Jesse gets there and gets the extra denial support, and Rob doesn't push Jesse off this top objective, and Jesse can still contest the other bottom 2, Jesse would actually pull out a win on primaries?
That's true, but he did need that warlock to use Psychic Shriek in order to kill the relic.
That's true. Okay, so he loses out on that. All right.
Oddly enough, what's funny here is that that Wave Serpent move to the middle may be what gets Rob close enough to charge in order to deny that objective. And if he didn't do that, he could have used that to shoot at the relic instead.
I am kind of surprised that he didn't turn the Wave Serpent more and bring the Wave Serpent down a little bit more and block off. Because if he takes the Wave Serpent, if he rotates it a little bit so it's perpendicular to the Wraith, or parallel, I guess parallel with the Wraith Knight's base, and backs it up a little bit and puts it kind of going across like that, he gives himself the opportunity to block off both the Beast charge, the Beast Pack charge, and the Wraith Knight charge. So I think that placement of the Wave Serpent might be a bit of a stretch here and might have caused a bit of problems.
The real worry here is the Windrider jet bikes. Rob is going to be able to jump around with those and go where he wants to.
Watch our timer. Yeah, don't worry, we're watching our timer for the actual thing.
It'll be going off in a second here, 20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds left on our right here on the clock. Make sure we don't let it buzz in people's ears.
It'll buzz in a second.
Oh, I remember last time it blew people up.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll pause right before.
It was very loud for the people at home.
Be prepared in case I'm missing.
4, 3, 2. All right. So our 2 seconds, we're gonna leave it there.
Stoppage time. 2 second stoppage time.
Yeah, soccer, I love it.
Or football, depending on where you are.
We're just gonna stop the clock. It's not actually gonna end at 2 seconds. We're gonna give it a winner. 2 or 0.
Okay, looks like Rob's pulling his Wraith Knight back, trying to
So-
throw some moons into that that
Well,
Farseer
and
on
that's
our objective.
interesting because I believe that Farseer is the Warlord Farseer too. So
If it is, that's gonna. I mean, that wraps up. He already has it wrapped up for secondaries, but
I mean, he's got a 2-up rerollable cover save.
Yep.
Got a 4-up rerollable invuln save.
sorry.
So, I mean, Wraith Knight does sometimes as Wraith Knight pleases.
Just do all your
So, yeah.
moves.
So what it's going to come down to here is if he makes that charge in the top left with the Beast Pack, it ends up not mattering because Rob is just going to go ahead and decide to win on secondaries. He's moving the Wind Riders all the way out there to contest that objective. There's no chance that fails, unless he kills himself on a dangerous train check, which looks like he hasn't done yet.
Well, I guess, I mean, day one of Adepticon is exactly that. A win's a win. Who
That's
cares?
right, it's just win out, so it doesn't matter how big the win is as long as you won. I guess it can matter for later rounds because they do end up doing points overall if you end up going 3-1. But
True.
But yeah, generally a win is better than nothing. And at this point, all he has to do is remove those top 3 Wind Riders, and he gets that objective.
To get
no
the
problem.
primary, yeah. So, I mean, it's not a bad strategy. I mean, the thing is, and like we talked about with having bottom of turn, it's the inevitability. Rob knows the game's over this turn. Jesse knows the game's over this turn. And you can hear him discussing it, which is always good. I mean, end of the day, these are test games for us. So we're going to do a lot of talking to each other, discussing, helping each other out with plays at the end, especially. But yeah, I mean, they're dumping everything into those 3 bikes. Those 3 bikes fall, it's not going to matter.
I have 4. Yeah.
Just to make sure we don't accidentally hit the play button on you, we're going to get rid of our clock.
I mean, he's going to win on secondary regardless.
The blue clock of doom. So there's no risk of us losing you as a subscriber, Dork Sim.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really matter because you win no matter what.
If I flub that, I wanted to make sure I had all the backup. I understand.
No matter what, you win on secondaries.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no matter what.
Okay, so because of the borrowing of models, those 2 Wind Rider jet bikes on the top left of the right objective were also Jesse's. That's why there was some confusion.
Oh.
But that Wraith Knight just shot the Farseer in the face, and you saw the concede in handshake, and that was the end of the game. So we're gonna go ahead and get these guys back here for some discussion and interview.
Yeah, do a little bit of commentary. I'm going to drop them out here.
Okay.
And this charge happens, then I have a potential.
All right, so we're going to give you guys a minute here. We're going to get these 2 players in. We're going to bring them in. We're going to get some questions and stuff like that. If you guys have any questions that we will get the players to get in here and talk a little bit. If you guys have any specific questions, please type them in chat now. We're going to go grab each player one at a time, bring them in, and have a little chat with them. So if you want to toss in some questions, I believe first we'll bring in...
We'll bring in loser first.
We're bringing the loser. We're bringing in
Newton.
loser, Jesse
Jesse Newton
Newton.
comes in
All
first.
right, we'll be right here. We'll be right back, guys.
The primary doesn't matter.
Huh?
Primary doesn't matter.
No, win is win. The big thing I want.
Matt, you want
Me and Newton talked to each other.
Yeah, they talk all day.
Yeah. My battery's off.
All day. That was well played. That was good. I think we were a little surprised that you threw the Beast Pack out there to get shot.
Yeah, that's I totally regret that.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like
All right, guys.
Oh, hold on. Oh, yeah. Let's put your...
So, I know that.
All right.
All right, so we have Jesse Newton here with me. This is the loser of the match. And let's see if we can get your army list up here real quick so we can show people at home what's going on. And you can talk us through it real fast. All right, so go ahead and give us a talk about what was going on with you, what was going on with the list, how you feel about it afterwards.
Well, one big thing, because I didn't have a 6th Whooping Hawk, because Rob's actually taking him to Adepticon, so he has them. I actually took a bunch of spears I forgot I had. The whole game.
So
forgot I had spears.
So would the spears come in handy then, or what's?
They would have been nice because I could have thrown them at the Wraith Knights and stuff.
Okay.
As well as I would have thrown them into the Beast Pack. I just did my positioning, so I would hit characters that do an instant kill, like, everything.
Sure. Hold on one second. Hey, Rob, shut your mic off.
I did. I went over most. There's all outline.
Like, him trying to multi-assault there holds so much combat potential away from that.
Can you hear it?
Just in case you can, but there's something coming through. Anyway, yeah, go ahead and keep going.
So, the big thing was this game was going to come down to whoever went second. he after 4 ties, he won the roll.
Yeah.
The first time he was like, "I win." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because I have Baron." I was like,
We
"So
both
do
had
I."
Baron. Yep.
So he's like, "But my Baron's Baron." I was like, "Oh, my Baron makes me win. How about that?" But I feel like it.
4-time reroll. Huh? That's
Yeah,
great.
four-time reroll. But I mean, it's a 9-man council, so it's still a pretty full council.
Sure.
I've been toying around with 9. I don't have a lot of games in with it, with the council in general. It's one of the reasons I'm not taking to Adepticon. I think this is maybe my 5th or 6th game with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it definitely is very unforgiving to somebody who doesn't maneuver it properly, as the game shows.
Yeah.
Going second was really rough. I mean, I just couldn't get to his jet bikes. Like I failed. I needed certain charges to either happen or me to make in order for me to hit and run slingshot. But then also I needed to win a hit and run roll, which I didn't.
Didn't win at all. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So what do you think was the main any mistakes that you happened to make?
I don't know if I should have. I don't know if I wanted to burn my 1 reroll on turn 1 for my fortune and just run my seers out there and basically be. Looking back, I kind of wish I did that because then at the very least I'd be 12 inches further across the table and I'd be more of a threat to his troops.
I agree. Yeah. We actually commented about that. It was a comment that I was surprised you didn't try to do. And I know that sometimes you want to save that for a more critical moment. But the initiative was on you to make the play. You had top of turn, so you needed to make the plays.
He deployed just out of 24 inches, so it would have been impossible for me to charge him.
Yeah, but I mean, being on that side of the table could have given you more for the following turn.
Yeah, I agree, but it was more of a. He's just outside 24. Which means he's just outside of my council being able to shoot him, as well as it might have worked out better for me there because if I was in his face, he probably would have shot the Wraith Knights into me too. Which I mean, I have a 2-up rerollable,
right?
So that was probably the right play
because that would have denied first blood.
But more importantly, I couldn't take the risk of failing fortune in a turn where I was either going to get charged or I was already engaged.
That's right. It's critical at that point. But
exactly. So I didn't want to give because the problem is. Without fortune, I'm only a handful of dice rolls away.
Right.
And instead, it's night fight. I can outshoot him turn 1 before he can really retaliate. And, I can keep the entire council out of range of everything. Right. So I was just like, I'll play it safe. Kind of wish that would have been a perfectly fine play had I made the 8-inch rerollable charge.
Sure.
Instead I rolled a 3 and a 2.
Yeah, we talked about how unfortunate that was.
And the other thing is I was kind of hoping, like, okay, well, my council's here, kind of baited out, and Rob was really keen on not charging it.
Yeah, you can see that he pulled up right next to you and then decided.
He was like, I'm going to charge. I'm not going to charge. Right. He's like, your turn, and I'm like, you don't want to charge? Are you sure you don't want to charge? I think you should charge. He was like, oh, you want me to charge? I was like, yeah.
It looked like he wanted to charge.
Well, because what I wanted to do was, as soon as he charged there, I wanted to try to hit and run out of combat. Jump 3d6 inches over towards the Wraith Knights and just start going after his Wraith Knights. Because if I can kill his Wraith Knights, he is fast with his pack, but I can do what I did with my Wave Serpent and just kind of feed him 1 and slip out the back. But I just never had that opportunity because even when I did get into combat, I didn't get a hit and run and I was just stuck there.
Yeah. Go ahead and check that comment there, the last one. What's the name there?
In Nalden. My question for both of them would be this. What do you feel was the biggest game-changing decision for your match?
So what do you think was that for yours? What was the decision that you made that changed the match?
The change it to his favor was not re-rolling fortune.
Okay. Well, so the decision to not re-roll fortune. Okay, you think that was the game changer?
Yeah, I would have, like, after I did it, I passed turn, I went, I have a lot of shooting. I should have re-rolled fortune, moved forward, ran with the Baron, turbo boosted with the bikes, and just been, I am here. I am in your corner. You're either going to come in on this side where all my Wave Serpents can shoot you, which aren't getting shot by your Wraith Knights, or I'm going to be able to charge all your bikes, or you're going to have to charge me. And at that point, it's just throw everything at it. That was absolutely a game changer because I would have been in his deployment zone on turn 1.
Yeah, you'll see once when you get a chance to watch this video again. But that was some of the stuff that we were talking about. It was a curious.
You mean after I edit it and post it, I'll get to watch it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's some of the discussion we had, and I think you're right. I think that might have been a different. It was a different game altogether if you did that.
Yeah, him giving me first and then deploying his beast pack out in front just gave me the momentum. And I was like, okay, well, I still got all of this to go for. I actually should have popped, I should have moved the other serpent over around the side so it could have shot and not shot itself out, but it was, the fact that he still managed to kill that serpent with a 2+ cover save and serpent shields for first blood was kind of like...
Yeah, it's a bit unusual for that sort of thing.
I rolled a lot of ones.
You did.
A lot of re-rollable ones at that. I perils protect on or a conceal on turn 1, and both of my protects died to like...
I saw that. The one was Overwatch?
Yeah, one was Overwatch, which wasn't a rend.
Yeah.
It was just, okay, boom. And another one was like a dangerous terrain. It was like 1, 1, 1. Oh, okay.
That happens.
I guess I'm going to lose him.
Stuff goes
I couldn't get a single horrify off. I tried to front it.
I was telling you, man, that's the key to the victory now.
The thing is with the 4+ rerollable,
right?
It's just like...
Try to get off. I mean, that's why if you use it on 1 or 2, if you can use it on 2 or more of them, then you have a better chance of getting that through.
I tried.
All right. Well, real quick, I want to let you know we hit 100 followers today on this Twitch channel. So thank you to all you guys. And,
hopefully I'll learn how to play console a little bit better. That's my goal. One of these days.
And I do want to say we had a request for Necrons and Black Templar. And I know that you happen to play both of those. So
I do, and Rob happens to play Black Templar.
That's right, and Necrons. So we could see a rematch with different armies.
I don't want to play Rob again. He beats me all the time. And by all the time, I mean ask him about the table my Avesta Star gave him yesterday.
Okay, we'll have some discussion with that. Is there anything you wanted to tell everybody?
No, not really. Dork Sim, thanks for posting it up in chat. I agree. And Matt, it is a better background. I'm reading Chip's comments.
It's nice, isn't it?
Chip, don't forget my rule book, Chip. Don't forget my rule book. Because I am banking on you bringing it. I'm not packing a rule book for Adepticon. And I leave tomorrow.
Issue given. All right. We're going to get Rob back here with Matt Sereno, and stay tuned for that.
But we're still maybe at that point we switch the conversation on narrative. Definitely want to hear a Rich
Any good questions to talk about here?
What's up?
He's looking around here. Questions? All right, gentlemen. In the booth with me is the winner of our game,
hey
Rob Fortin. First of all, we made some cracks about the Bears, so you know that. You'll see it in the replay.
Right.
So you won.
Yeah.
What do you think was kind of the key turning moment for you in the game?
The key turning moment in the game. That's tough. I think it was the not charging his Seer Council and him forcing to multi-assault my one unit that had the relic and my Beast Pack, not putting a whole lot of attacks onto my unit itself, and then allowing me to hit and run out and push towards his Wave Serpents, which was my plan all along. Was I really wanted to get those guys into the Wave Serpents and pressure his troops.
I think the biggest thing that we kept noting is you did a great job with keeping your 2 Wraith Knights separated. We've been talking all the time about like the Wave Serpents versus the Wraith Knights. Which ones do more? We talk about the Wraith Knights do a little bit more in the actual Eldar matchup, and yeah, you kind of put that pressure on to make them flank. So we have one question, reviewer. Why didn't you take more Razor Wings in your flock?
Razor Wings? Honestly, my feeling with them is there's so much strength 6 shooting in the game that unless I can get forewarning with the 4-up invuln, those guys just die like immediately. In fact, if I had the points, I would actually take 5 more Chimeras because the Razor Flocks really don't seem to do anything for me. I mean, the 6s to rend is nice, but I just never really get it. So to be honest, that unit's really not about killing as much as surviving, and basically it's board control. You got a big footprint. You have to make your opponent make tough choices, and then you can really spread out and force him into your game.
Well, another perfect example, and I know in the game you and I played, like Thunderfires do such a good job picking off those Razor Wings, because sure, you can sit here and say, well, I'm going to protect them. I'm going to put the Chimera in front, leave the Razor Wings back, but Thunderfire just, that barrage just kind of does what it wants. And yeah, like you said, Strength 6 and not being able to look, or Tough 3, Strength 6 is kind of your brutal enemy. There is a lot.
Yeah, Thunderfires alone are the reason I don't take Razor Flocks anymore. I like my little converted ones. I got a couple more, but they just die, and the Chimeras, I feel are just better.
So we talked a little bit out there before coming in here. You agree your deployment was interesting. Real quick, what was going through your mind at deployment?
So from the get-go, my idea was to get those Wave Serpents. He deployed them right on his line, so I wanted to get as close as possible. Hindsight, I don't think the deployment was bad. I think my terrain deployment was bad. I should have taken that big piece and pushed it up as far as I could forward, flipped it around so that all my guys could stand like behind it, and then I would still have my max distance on my Beast Pack plus be covered. I was too concerned with keeping my Swooping Hawks and my Warriors protected, which I mean it worked, but I don't think I needed to be that cautious with it.
And it was definitely interesting, the choice to not charge. Now you moved up, and we know you're talking about like you kind of getting him to charge so you could get the hit and run away. Yeah. But we all at home were sitting here thinking, here's the charge, here's going to be our first big round of combat, and then you just decide not to.
Yeah, well, this is something that I've learned playing my Space Marine bikes, especially against Tal a lot. It's not always beneficial to charge. He's got so many saving throws and rerolls. Like, honestly, I'm just going to hit him, maybe get lucky and kill a guy with that 2-up. But I don't have any AP, so there's really no point for me charging. It would just be a wasted thing. So instead of charging in, giving him the hit and run, hope if he gets it, and letting him move further that he wants to, and then be able to then in his turn make his move again. I just felt like that was a really bad play. But by putting him in front of him, basically going, hey, you know what? If you want to waste your turn charging me, that's fine.
Yeah, and one of my favorite plays that you did was you took the 3-man Wind Raider jet bike, you went and you got the relic.
Yeah.
As much as you're not going to hold the relic by any means, you force him to worry about it because you've already got the advantage. You've got first blood. You've got better mobility at that point because you had knocked out a couple Wave Serpents. You're forcing his Dire Avengers to start walking. You've got the advantage there, and you just made him now play to an entirely new, and we saw it work. We saw him forced to use that Mind Ward instead of turbo boosting that Farseer, getting support on that top right objective. He had to Mind Ward.
That was actually a second unit that went. Actually, it was the same unit that went back and picked it up. The reason I did that was I had my spiders in the one corner. I had my Beast Pack, and I knew he was just going to unload in my spiders. Actually, I wasn't really expecting the multi-assault. That just worked out in my favor.
Well, yeah, because he lost his Protect Warlock.
Yeah, that was crazy.
His last Protect Warlock, he lost the other one to Mind Ward.
Yeah, so, but the good thing is I was just trying to get him to shoot some of the Wave Serpents at him. I knew they were going to die, but I kind of wanted my spiders to be there to basically shoot his Wave Serpent. So if he tries to ignore them a little bit, I'd have more punch, with the strength 7, I think, against vehicles. Yeah. I felt like I could have probably taken it down, especially with the Doom. So that was the actual plan there. The fact that he did the multi-assault and really mitigated any kind of attacks put in either one of the units worked out great.
Now, interesting question I had. You brought your Warp Spiders in, and we were really thinking, especially me, I'm like, okay, Warp Spiders, they're great at killing those Wave Serpents. You're going to bring them in, you're going to take out a Wave Serpent. Yeah. Instead, you didn't. You went for a troop. And my feeling was that your Wraith Knight was close enough to go take care of that troop by himself. So use the Warp Spiders to go after some Wave Serpents and put some pressure on. And pretty much like, you had kind of given him the option to go 2 different ways and make him bottleneck up. Make him move up towards the blue Wraith Knight, and you can kind of support that then a little bit more. What was your feeling behind going after a troop versus going after the Wave Serpents?
So our motto on Team SG is kill troops, win games. That aside, the original plan was to actually go after the Wave Serpents, but I got a horrible scatter. And then I got a really bad fleet move. Mm-hmm. So the only one I was in range of was the one in the terrain, and I couldn't see its back arc because it's covered by the terrain piece. So I didn't want to give him, 3-up armor save or something like that. Yeah. I felt like that was just wasting shots. So I decided to put pressure on those warriors, take them out. The Wraith Knight was there. He could have dealt with it. But honestly, keeping the Wraith Knight free to keep shooting at stuff, I felt was a better play. Use the spiders. In the spiders' next turn, they're fast enough that I'll just jump over and then deal with anything else I had to deal with that turn.
Yeah, I mean, 2 still managed to live through that round of shooting, so it's good. So, prepping for Adepticon, any changes you see you would make in your list after playing this game? I know you were worried going in about this matchup. This has been kind of one of the ones in your radar. It's one of the reasons you told me that you wanted to take the Wraith Knights over the Wave Serpents because they do more in this. They put more work in the Eldar matchup.
For this, I don't know if I would change anything moving forward. After Adepticon, it depends on. I kind of want to play with the Imperial Knight instead of the 2 Wraith Knights because I just feel like he might put a lot more pressure on things.
Well, and he's intimidating. Yeah, it's an intimidating model. It has that presence. I mean, it's definitely...
So I'm thinking about that, and then it also frees up a couple more points for maybe, I don't know, another Unit 5 Spiders or something. I don't know, but yeah, everything works good. I'm also kind of thinking about maybe a Bastion with like some warriors in it to shoot and then jump out an objective late game. But I don't know. I'm just playing around with stuff. Right now, it's good. I don't think there's anything I'm going to change moving into Adepticon. The Wraith Knights are okay. They soak fire, which is what they do.
Yeah.
They put pressure on things, and they're my only answer to heavy armor. So, all in all, I'm pretty happy with it right now.
Yeah, I mean, and especially one of the other things to talk about is it seemed how important was that die roll to see who goes first. So it looked to me like Jesse had superior psychic powers. You obviously both had fortune. Jesse got the prescience, which is big. You had to wait to your last roll to get the fortune.
Oh my god!
What? How crucial was that die roll?
You know what? Actually, with Eldrad, it's not too bad. There's two things about Eldrad I found out. One, he doesn't slow me down. I'm able to chain out enough of the Beastmasters that it's never really been an issue. Maybe going through terrain's kind of an issue. Second off, he gives me that redeploy. So if I don't get to go first, I can actually use it to bait him. I can be like, oh yeah, all my stuff's over here, and then now it's over here. Deal with it.
Which is definitely something. I mean, I got to play a little bit of Eldrad at Nova Opens last year. It was huge.
But being able to get my powers off first wouldn't have been bad. And like I said, if I got the mobility here in the matchup, so if I can deal with his, it doesn't matter if I go second or first or second, because if I can do enough damage to his stuff, then I can just jump on objectives late game and see what happens. In this matchup, if I would have had the last turn, who knows what would have happened, but he had to flat out to get in the range for everything. So it probably kind of would have been the same-ish, but definitely turn twos.
I mean, definitely seemed like the first blood advantage was kind of to you regardless. The Wraith Knights and against vehicles gives you that first blood.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely seemed to be good. So, Rob, our winner of this match, for anyone going to Adepticon, check us out. You'll see the jerseys, the T-shirts. We'll be rolling around the entire weekend. Stop in, say hi. If you have any comments, questions, you want to talk about some lists you want to see us in the future, you want to see how us play in the future, check us out on Facebook. Email us. All our information at the bottom of the screen. That's it. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks
Have a
for
good
watching.
Night. You guys know about the game.
Did you guys see that we had like five re-rolls for the first turn?
Yeah. I don't know how to end it. Broadcast?